If you want to source products from China without getting scammed, overpaying, or wasting months talking to the wrong suppliers, this video will walk you through the exact process step by step. By the end, you'll know where to source, how to evaluate factories, how pricing really works, and how to move from idea to supplier to launch with confidence. This video is structured with clear chapters in the description and transition screens, so you can follow the steps in the right order or revisit specific sections at any time. Everything you'll learn can be done from outside of China, no matter where you're located. Though having a passport will allow you to take full advantage of some of the available platforms, the framework is based on over 8 years of hands-on sourcing experience working directly with Chinese factories. Let's start with the first step: where to source and which platforms actually matter.
So this course will cover 4 main topics. The first will be how to pay your supplier. Need to know the payment processes that are used in China. Did you know that if you pay in the local currency, Chinese yuan, versus USD, you can save up to 30% of the cost of your product? Well, I'm going to be showing you the shortcuts on how to actually pay the suppliers directly in the local currency. Then you need to deal with the shipping. So when you're dealing with the domestic platforms inside China, most, if not all, don't ship overseas. So you need to have the right channels that can ship your goods and also inspect your goods to make sure everything is A-OK before it reaches the customer's doorstep. And don't worry, I'll be giving you the tools to contact many shipping agents that can help you around the whole world. And if you don't see one for your country, you can let me know. Then the third, and I guess the semi-final step, will be the procurement process. You will be learning on what platforms you can use to procure these goods. In this course, I'll be going through 3 platforms that will be the most common and the most profitable for your business. And lastly, of course, I'll have some bonus about how to avoid scams, how to automate your process, some free calculation tools you can use for your business if you have a business idea. And with all that, you will have access to my whole contact list so that you can contact the right person for your business. So a little bit about the payment gateways that are supported in China. Seldom are cards used like Mastercard or Visa. Actually, they're so rarely used and not accepted on the platforms. And there's a reason for that, because most Chinese suppliers use UnionPay, which is a very common Asia Pacific payment processor and cards. So I'll be teaching you how to set up an Alipay account and a WeChat Pay account, and also another method to change currencies to be able to pay your suppliers directly. Note that for some of these you may need a passport, but of course I will show you different ways to overcome this. Then, as mentioned previously, when you're looking into domestic platforms, you're going to be looking into domestic pricing, which is very affordable and good for your business if you can get directly to the supplier. But you will need to know how to ship these goods from China to your target country and your niche. I'd say about 99% of these domestic platforms don't ship overseas. There are exceptions, but for the most case, they don't. So I will be arming you with a list of full freight forwarders that can support you and how to find the one that is suitable for your company. And as I mentioned, with the sourcing platforms, I'm going to be covering 3: 1688, Pinduoduo, and Taobao. These are very common sourcing platforms in China meant for the domestic market, but if you play your cards right, I will teach you exactly how to find your product knowing little to no Chinese at all. And lastly, based on my experience, I'll be showing you how to automate and set up your store so that you can get things up and running, all the way from getting your first customer to having a full-blown e-commerce store that you can run and get some nice passive income each month. So I hope you enjoyed the course material, and I'll see you in the next lesson. So now let's introduce the payment processors that are used in China, and specifically that all the suppliers will most likely use in China. So as mentioned in the overview, Visa and Mastercard are not really accepted in China. It's actually pretty hard for suppliers or for local businesses to accept Visa and Mastercard. Plus, there are extra fees that you have to take into consideration. So instead of dealing with the whole mess of making the application to be able to accept Visa or Mastercards, the suppliers will just deny and not use it. So the most common form here is UnionPay card. But with that being said, there are two major e-wallets that are used in China that can help you pay suppliers directly. The first one is Alipay, and this is by far the largest payment processor in China. The good news is that you can link your foreign cards to your Alipay account if you do this correctly. I will be showing you how to actually register for an Alipay account because this is the first step. If you can find the product and the freight forwarder, it means nothing if you have no ways to pay the supplier. The second payment processor is WeChat Pay. I'm sure you might have heard of WeChat, which is like the biggest social media platform inside China. Think of it as like the WhatsApp of China because a lot of apps are blocked here. So this is something that they made inside of China so that everyone can communicate locally. I personally believe that without a WeChat account, you are shooting yourself in the foot because this allows you to directly talk to suppliers and they don't have to download some special VPN or software to communicate with you on WhatsApp or other platforms. Now, setting up a WeChat Pay account is a little bit more complicated, but I will be showing you step by step on exactly how to do so. And you also have direct bank transfers as a way to pay these suppliers, but this is for more advanced after you've gotten the business started up and you've tested the product in your market and you're okay to level up your business and the purchasing power. Note that I also provide a currency exchange platform on my website that can pay the suppliers directly. If you want a larger amount that's not supported on Alipay or WeChat Pay, but you also don't want to deal with the bank transfer route. Now here's a breakdown of all the platforms and the payments they can use. So here you can see on the left you have Shenyu, 1688, Taobao, Alibaba, AliExpress, Zhuangzhuang, Pinduoduo, Weidian, Jingdong. Don't be overwhelmed by the amounts here. I'm going to show you the key ones that are the most profitable from my experience. You can see the differences of each one, but more importantly, you can see what payments they support. So here, you'll be focusing on 1688 that can support Alipay and WeChat in some cases. Taobao can only support Alipay, and Pinduoduo can support Alipay and WeChat. Something to note is that 1688, it may be difficult to set up the WeChat, so I'd recommend staying with Alipay using 1688. And in China, the most popular payment gateway is in fact Alipay. And you can see the other platforms that they also accept Alipay or WeChat. Note that Alipay and WeChat are competitors, so they may not be working together and they may have deals with these sourcing companies. So in the next lesson, I'll be showing you step by step on how to open your Alipay account to get started.
Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video.
Now let's go straight into the first payment processor which you should register for in China, which is Alipay. Now realize Alipay is the most popular platform, and personally I recommend this because it is easy to sign up for, it is very foreigner friendly, and they have English customer service. The other one later on, which is WeChat Pay, I'll also show you how to sign up for that, but I don't recommend it as much as Alipay. So this should be your first step. So let's talk about the differences between the two. On the left side, you have Alipay. This, you actually need a Chinese bank account if you want it fully verified. You can then add foreign cards later, but because you have to be inside of China to get a Chinese bank account, this won't work out. And they have large limitations for up to 200,000 RMB each year. But Alipay Tour Pass is the starting point for you guys. You don't need a Chinese bank account. There are small limitations when you get started, but this is just for you guys to get started. And once you get the ball rolling, you'll have other methods to be able to pay your suppliers. And you can see the limitations is about 2,000 RMB per transaction, or a total of 10,000 RMB every 3 months. Now, as a reference, 2,000 RMB is closer to $400, and 10,000 RMB is closer to like $1,500 to $600. That is more than enough to get started, especially for just procuring the goods. So let's get started with how to sign up for the Alipay Tour Pass. Now, let's start with what you need. Because it's the Chinese e-wallet platform, there are certain regulations you must abide by. So in order to sign up, you need a passport. You also need a verified bank card from your bank. Visa or MasterCard is preferred in this case. And lastly, you'll need a real phone number to sign up with a mobile phone. So you can't be using a virtual phone number like Google Voice or Skype. Those won't work. You need a real phone number tied to a SIM card because it will detect if it's a real or not. Now, if you don't have a passport, don't worry. Later on, you can skip to the Borderless Commerce platform, and where you don't need a passport, anything like that, to sign up for an account. So, first things first, let's talk about which countries support Alipay. For the most part, like 180 countries support it, but it's always good to check exactly how many countries are supported. When you sign up for the first time, you can just filter your results and see if your country is supported. 99% of the time it is supported, and you can see on the screen here the different kinds of countries that are supported. I'm not going to go through each one. When you have time to sign up on the app, you can check yourself. So now let's go into making an account. When you make an account, you first need to download the application from the proper location. So there's two ways to download it, but I recommend downloading it from the official channels first. If you're an Android user, you can use the Google Play Store and simply search for Alipay to search for the app. If you're an Apple or iPhone user, you can go to the App Store and also search for Alipay. Make sure you find the normal Alipay. Don't be downloading international Alipay, Hong Kong Alipay. No, you must download the regular Alipay. Once you have downloaded the application, then you want to sign up with your phone number. Now, in this case, you're signing up for an Alipay account that won't have anything verified, but at least you have the account. So you need to link your phone number to the account, and then at this time, they're going to ask for a one-time password to verify it's a real phone number. Again, virtual phone numbers will not work, so make sure you're using a real phone number. Now, on the search bar on the top here, you're going to type in Tour Pass. Make sure that you find the Tour Pass and you look for this image right here, this icon right here to sign up. Once you find the application inside Alipay, you're going to continue on with the sign up process. You're going to have to create an account, at which you're going to have to put your personal information, which includes your name, your address, your date of birth, and it will ask you to verify your passport information. Just follow the process about taking a selfie or uploading your passport information, and you may have to wait between 1 to 24 hours to get it fully verified. Once you've successfully passed the passport verification, you can now top up your funds. But to top up your funds, you need to link your bank card. Make sure this bank card does not expire anytime soon, because each Alipay Tour Pass card is only valid for 3 months. So make sure it has a long expiration date so that if you need to change the card or anything like that, it's very smooth and easy to do. To top up your card, simply click on top up and the amount. You can select an amount like 50, 100, 200 RMB, or put a manual amount. From my experience, I think the most you can top up at a time is 2,000 RMB, but you can keep on topping it up from there until you reach that 10,000 RMB threshold. After you have linked your bank card, you will be able to top up your funds and realize that each transaction will have a 5% service fee, but once you top up your card, you now have a verified Alipay Tour Pass account that you can actually spend local Chinese yuan to buy on Chinese platforms. Now, if you get stuck throughout this whole process, don't worry. I will teach you how to contact the customer service. The first way is the easiest way and the less aggressive way is you can email them at this email right here. When you email them, make sure you specify your phone number, your Alipay account number. Your account number can be accessed by going to Me or Profile, clicking on the image on top, and then looking for the Alipay number there. So that's the first way to contact them. The second way to contact them is to simply go to their customer service chat, which you can go under my profile here, scroll down until you see the customer service, and then you're going to need to select on some buttons that you can see on the screen here until you reach the chat interface. Realize that this chat function is only available during the working hours inside mainland China. So if you're not in mainland China, be aware of the time difference. Also, you're going to need to ask them a couple questions before you can get to a human being. Eventually, you'll be asked if you want to speak to a customer representative, as you can see on the screen. And at that point, you can continue chatting with the rep to be able to solve your issue with Alipay Tour Pass. And the third method, and this is one I don't recommend unless you have access to call a Chinese phone number or you're physically inside China, is to call their hotline. And you can see right here, this is the number of their hotline, and you can go ahead and contact them that way. So those are the 3 methods to contact the customer service if you were to run into any problems. At this point, you should already have an activated Alipay Tour Pass account. Congratulations! You are in your first step to be able to source the cheapest goods possible inside China. Now for the next lesson, we'll go on how to register for WeChat Pay, which is another e-wallet platform inside China. Catch you in the next lesson.
Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video.
Okay, now let's cover how to register for WeChat Pay if you decide to use this payment gateway for your sourcing services. Let's talk about the privileges you get between using WeChat Pay if you're a foreigner not inside of China and you don't have a Chinese bank account versus if you have a Chinese bank account. So starting on the left-hand side here, if you have a Chinese bank card connected, which you can only do if you're physically inside China, you can receive and send money to people, but only in one currency, and that's RMB. You can also top up your WeChat balance from your bank card directly. You cannot top up with a foreign bank card, you can only top up with your local bank card in China. And you have larger limitations where you can send up to 200,000 RMB each year. And if it's a new person you're sending money to, those transaction limits may change, but I know the rule is 200,000 RMB each year. Now, if you just have your foreign bank connected and you don't have your local bank card in China connected, this is what you're going to get because you're just getting started, you're not inside of China. You cannot receive or send money to people. Now, I know that sounds bad, but I'll show you how to overcome how to pay some suppliers in a little bit. So don't expect that you can pay people directly with your foreign bank card. You also cannot top up your WeChat account, as I mentioned before. And you can still purchase on platforms that use WeChat Pay, like Pinduoduo, but more importantly Pinduoduo, because that's where a lot of the cheapest products are at. And you have smaller limits per transactions. This will depend both on WeChat. If they set limits on you, it's not so black and white and clear, versus your bank. So this is where you're going to start just to get your business started so that you can start sourcing. So what's the difference between Alipay and WeChat Pay? I personally prefer Alipay because they're very foreigner friendly, they have English services, and they have 24/7 customer service that is very easy to reach. WeChat Pay is very commonly used in China, but few platforms actually accept this payment gateway when it comes to sourcing. There is no customer service, or it's very hard to reach, which I'll teach you methods on how to reach them, but it is a pain. And everything is in Chinese with very little English interface. So if I had to choose between the two, I would definitely pick on the Alipay. But I'm showing you both ways so that you can have some flexibility. So now let's talk about what you need to actually have WeChat Pay activated. First, you need a WeChat account. So of course, you can't have WeChat Pay without a WeChat account, right? And I actually provide this service in this link here, and I'll have a little PDF that you can download to get to this link if you want me to help you to activate your WeChat. Now, you don't need to use my service for this. You can easily find someone to scan your QR code, which I'll show you in a little bit. After you have a WeChat account, then you're going to need a passport similar to Alipay to verify your identity. They won't accept local ID cards. They won't accept local driver's license. It must be a passport. You're going to need a bank card that's preferably Visa or MasterCard, and a phone number, a real phone number, not a virtual phone number from Google Voice or Skype. It needs to be a real SIM card linked to your name and that can receive and send text messages. WeChat is a smart platform and it can detect if you're using a virtual phone. And before considering using WeChat Pay, you may want to check if your country is supported using WeChat Pay. So let's look at the country list and how you can figure out if your country is supported using WeChat Pay. So this is the website you will go to see if you can use WeChat Pay. And here you can see the different countries that are available based on the continents and all that. So let's say I'm in Canada. If I click on Canada, or if let's say I'm in the Americas and I can't see my country here, I can just go on more, and then you can see the different countries listed. So in my case, I'm from Canada. They have 26 people that can accept WeChat Pay. So you're in good hands. If you see your country like Paraguay, but it says 0 in total, that is not good news, but you can still try to register. It's a hit or miss. But typically, if you see a number where it says now some number in total, your country is mostly supported. So if I go to Africa, you see a lot of them are in the zeros, but you can still sign up for WeChat Pay if you just see your country flag here listed. It may not necessarily need to have a total of like headquarters there, but this just as a reference. If you don't see your country list here at all, it definitely doesn't support it. So this would be a good starting point to see if your country supports WeChat Pay. So now let's go into how you make a WeChat Pay account. Now it is China and it is very heavily regulated here and censored. So making an account is not so easy, but I'll teach you how to do so. You can download the WeChat application via the App Store, whether it's Google Play Store or the iPhone App Store. After you download the app, you're going to click on sign up and you're going to select your country here based on your area code. So in my case, my area code is +1 because I'm from the United States, and then I'll select the United States and put your phone number there. Then you're going to need to put in your username and password. Don't forget your username and password because you're going to need it. And then you're going to go through some authentication to make sure you're not a robot, like matching some puzzle pieces. At this point, you're going to need someone to scan your QR code. You may or may not run into this problem. To scan this QR code, you must have someone that has a WeChat account that has been using it for at least 6 months, and they can only scan once a month, twice every 3 months, or 3 times every 6 months. Now, I did say I do provide this service if you need help with it, but you can also search on platforms like Facebook groups, and you can search on platforms like maybe Reddit that will help you scan these QR codes for free, but it can be difficult to find since the requirements are pretty strict. After you have had someone scan your QR code successfully, then you go into the last step, which is a one-time password via text message. Make sure your phone number can support receiving text from China. At this point, you will agree to all the terms and conditions and make sure you can accept the one-time password and put it in. Once you put in the one-time password, ta-da, you should have an account and you're ready to go. Please note that if you have problems receiving text, you can always select to receive a phone call with the code instead. Now realize that you need to have a good mobile data signal for this to happen. When you are signing up for WeChat Pay, make sure you have mobile data and you're not using Wi-Fi, because this will affect how well you can receive the text for the one-time password. So now that you have WeChat, next you need is WeChat Pay. So right here on the right-hand side, you can see this is my WeChat. You can scan it by either adding me at Borderless Commerce under the contacts or scanning my code via the WeChat app, and then you can add me there. Somebody needs to send you money. You won't have WeChat Pay automatically activated under your services and profile. And this can be a red packet or someone sending you money directly. If you add me, I'll send you some money so that you can get the process started. Once you get the money, then you can start the application for having WeChat Pay activated. And first, you're going to have to do one of two things. Either upload your passport information, which they're going to ask for a selfie, a picture of your passport, and all your passport information, name, date of birth, passport number, expiration date, etc. And after you verify the passport, which could take between 24 to 72 hours, then you can start using WeChat Pay freely. At this point, you want to link your bank card to your WeChat Pay. And because you don't have a Chinese bank card, you're going to need to link your local bank card, which is Visa or MasterCard. Remember the limitations. You can only pay suppliers directly on platforms like Pinduoduo, but not via WeChat Pay. So to add a bank card, you simply go to me, go to the top right corner here, go to my wallet, click on these 3 dots, and you should be able to see an option that says payments or add new bank card. At this point, you can add a new bank card. You have to put in your name, the bank card number, the expiration date, the CVC code, and also the address and email linked to that bank card. This is very important because they will check if the bank card information matches your address and your email. This is very important because they have a banking license. They can check if you're trying to steal someone's credit card. So make sure you're using your credit card when doing this. And if everything goes successful, you should see your foreign bank card on WeChat Pay. And congratulations, you have got here. Now, if you see any problems when it comes to transactions using your foreign bank card, the best way to contact WeChat Pay customer service from my experience is that there's 2 ways. The first way is that you can contact their hotline calling this phone number right here, and then you just call them from China. But you have to be in China for this to happen and speak Chinese, so I don't recommend that. The second way is to file a ticket by trying to add a new bank card and purposely putting the wrong bank card information. So just get a random bank card and put the wrong expiration date or put the wrong CVC code and submit that wrong CVC code like 3 or 5 times, and eventually you'll get a message saying that your WeChat Pay has been restricted. View details to file a ticket, and in the ticket you will be able to explain what your problem is. At this, you need to put your name, your phone number, and then you need to explain your situation in Chinese just using Google Translate. Just type it in English in Google Translate, copy it once it's translated to Chinese, and put it into the ticket. At this point, you're going to need to put photos of your bank card, of your passport, and your face saying, I want to link this bank card, or there's something wrong with this bank card, please help me with this service. At this point, after you've uploaded those photos, then you're going to have to wait between 24 to 72 hours for them to message you on WeChat about the results to see if your problem has been solved, and this is the only way to contact them. I apologize for it, but it's just the service is pretty bad in China because there are billions of users that use WeChat. Now that you know how to get Alipay and WeChat Pay, the next step is another service I can provide you in the event you don't have a passport or you don't want to go through the trouble of setting these up. So stay tuned. Now you need to find a good shipping partner, and this is going to be key for your business. So let's talk about how to find the right freight forwarder for you. Now this can actually make or break your business. If you don't find a suitable freight forwarder that's reliable, that has insurance, that can make sure your product actually gets to the end customer on time, then you're at risk of, just losing a lot of money and losing on profit margins. So I would spend most of your time finding a suitable freight forwarder, because finding the products and paying them is easy, but the freight forwarder is going to be your key point in this whole journey. In the next lesson, I'll go into exactly what to ask your freight forwarder in detail, but here are some things to consider while you're on your search. First is if they offer inspection services. This is very important to prevent scams. If you were to try a new supplier for the first time and they were to ship the goods to their freight forwarder, you want to make sure they have some kind of process or system to check the goods before they ship it. Whether they open the package, take a picture and show it to you, give you a video, etc. Because you don't want to deal with issues once the product has left China. You want to know what the turnaround time is for shipping. Now this will vary based on the shipping method you choose. We'll go into more detail a little bit later, but basically you have air freight, sea freight, and sometimes railhead if you're on land the whole time. And it's very important to know the whole journey of the process from when the product leaves the factory until the product arrives at your customer's doorstep. Do they have convenient means of communication? I typically have my freight forwarders added on WeChat, which is the equivalent of WhatsApp inside China, and I want to make sure I can contact them in a very easy and efficient manner, and especially if they can speak English. Of course, I know a little bit of Chinese, so I can overcome that, but for you guys, if you don't know any Chinese, you want to make sure they speak your local language. If your target market is like in the north of Africa, you may want to make sure they can speak in French to be able to handle some problems. And lastly, payment and duties. How do this freight forwarder accept payments, and how do they handle duties? For example, if they're shipping to Europe, do they have an import one-stop shop service already built into their system so that they can handle all the tariffs that are included in your business? And are they familiar with the tariffs so that you don't get surprised when the goods arrive at your port and you can't release them until you pay an exorbitant amount of fees in taxes?
Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video.
So let's talk about how you can find your freight forwarder. For you, I have compiled a list from my experience of many freight forwarders that can support over 80 countries worldwide. If you don't find your country in this list, you can always email me at service@borderlesscommerce.net and explain your situation on how you want to find a freight forwarder for a certain country, and I'll add it to that list. So please don't forget to download that contact list in this course so that you can have access to it. As a warm-up, I recommend you try searching for a freight forwarder yourself just to have some practice. Of course, you can always use a list if you just want to get straight to it. So what I typically do is use Baidu, which is the Google of China. Google is banned in China, so they have an alternate search engine called Baidu. Unfortunately, this is all in Chinese, but I will show you how to overcome this. So when you go to Baidu, you want to search for your country's name plus 货运代理. This means shipping agent or freight forwarder. You can use Google Translate to figure out what your country is in Chinese. So for example, Nigeria is 日里亚. Okay, you can just copy and paste that in this presentation. So let's go look at an example of how to find some freight forwarders. So here I am on the Google Translate page just to get started, and I want to search for United States. Here you see this is how you say my country in Chinese, 美国. You can just copy this. And then this is Baidu. So in the Baidu search engine, you can see I already have it copied here, but you paste 美国货运代理, right? And then you click on search. Now everything is in Chinese, right? So you're like, how can I see this in English? Well, if you're using a desktop browser, you can simply go to Google Chrome, right? Because I'm using Google Chrome. Go to the settings, go to advanced, and go to languages. Under languages, I have my main language set to English, but most importantly, you want to click the drop-down arrow and select offer to translate pages that aren't in the language you read. And the language I read is in English. You can see everything is in English, and you can change the language here. If you want to add different languages, you can do that as well. So once you have that set up, you can simply right-click on the page and click Translate to English. Give it a moment, and then you can see everything is now in English and easy for you to use. Now, I want you to ignore the things that say advertise. These are just advertisements, and they're most likely not going to help you with your business. So just ignore those. You have to skip through this. I know Baidu is a pain. But once you get down here, then you can see some freight forwarder options. So here there's a freight forwarder, US shipping. Here's American International Freight Forwarder, American International Freight Forwarder. I've already selected a few. So some of these you want to realize, okay, if they're a good freight forwarding company and they're in China, they probably offer the best pricing. So this website actually can come in English and also in Chinese. So that's good news. And you want to see what they can provide. Can they provide DDP, which I'll explain later on? Can they do customs clearance? Can they inspect your products? From what places in China can they ship to places in the US? Can they do door-to-door? These are the things you want to do. Here's another platform that would actually, let me translate to English, would actually give you a whole list of freight forwarders that can support shipping from China to the US, and you can just inquire in each one. Some of them may have the pricing here. It's 16 RMB per kg, which is about $3. Now that's minimum price. It's probably not going to be the actual price when you get quoted, but yeah, you can see different options here. So why do I show you how to find your own freight forwarder even though I don't have the list? So let's say I don't have the country you have. Yes, I will find it for you if you let me know, but if you urgently want to contact them, you can use your own methods to find a freight forwarder. Also, if you can see on their page like a QR code where you can add their WeChat, that'd be even better because their most convenient contact method is WeChat, and I highly recommend you get a WeChat so that you can contact everybody inside of China. So what's the challenge for you now? Now that you know how to find freight forwarders, or at least you have the list of freight forwarders that I've handed to you, I want you to shortlist 5 to 10 freight forwarders so that you can get ready for the next lesson. Once you shortlist these freight forwarders, I will then show you what to ask them for your business so that you can make sure your freight forwarder can fulfill all the services you need them to. I'll catch you in the next lesson. Well, now that you have your short list of 5 to 10 candidates, which I hope you did in the previous lesson, let's go into how you can narrow down your short list to find the ideal freight forwarder for your business. So it's really important to ask the right questions, especially if you're new to this, because you want to know how to handle all the issues that you will encounter for your business, especially as it grows. Realize that most of the procurement platforms inside China do not ship overseas, nor will they agree to ship overseas because it's a big hassle. Make sure you know how to ask the right question. Let's go into the first set of questions that you should ask them. The payment methods they can accept. Now, some freight forwarders have their own management platform that you can make an account, ship it to their warehouse, and then they'll just bill you in the account. And when you pay them in the account, they'll ship the goods. And then some are more manual, but maybe cheaper in the long term if you want to use them where they ship the goods to the warehouse, and then they'll tell you on WeChat or something, here's the bill for your product, and then they'll go ahead and ship the goods once you pay them. Here are some of the questions you should ask them when it comes to payments. Realize that a lot of them will take WeChat Pay and Alipay, but it gets difficult to send them money if you don't have a Chinese bank account. Of course, you can use my services with currency exchange to help pay them directly on Alipay because you do get huge discounts if you pay them directly in their local currency. But here are some options you may want to consider, especially if you expand your business and you don't have a Chinese bank account. Do they accept payments with Mastercard or Visa, especially with your local bank card? You may want to test this for a couple shipping processes to make sure that you can pay them successfully and smoothly so that you don't run into issues of like, oh, it's time to ship the product, my customer is waiting. Do they have avenues like PayPal, where you can just PayPal them the money from your business or personal bank account to get the shipment processed? Do they offer direct bank transfer services, especially in the USD? It's very common for businesses in China to accept USD, especially for large orders, but it's very important to make sure you check the currencies that are accepted. If they only accept RMB, that's very inconvenient for you and may not work out in the long term if you don't have methods to directly pay them in their bank account in RMB. Later in this lesson, I will show you some advanced techniques to be able to do that regardless if you have a Chinese bank account or not. Now, this one's very rare, but it's worth the ask. Do they have a local warehouse in your country where you can pay them there after they receive the goods? This protects you as the dropshipper, as you don't pay them until the goods have arrived at the warehouse and then been verified and inspected. That way, if there's any damage, lost packages, you are safe with your money and you can return the money to the customer if they're not satisfied. Now, this is very rare and usually only offered to businesses or people that have been doing business with freight forwarders for a long time and they see the stable income coming in. But it's worth to ask if you're just getting started out. And do they accept payments from individuals or established companies? If you're just getting started out, you may not have a company and you may need a registered company for them to accept payment. However, you want to ask if they can accept payments from your individual bank account if you're just getting started and you don't want to deal with the processing fees of starting a new company and opening a company business account in your local country. Now that you have the payment questions already handled, the next thing you want to ask them are about inspections. This one is very important, especially if you have a large amount of orders and you want to make sure the right product gets to the right customer. So some questions you want to ask is, can they verify the number and the type of goods that they receive at the warehouse before they ship it? For example, if you have 5 suppliers and they each send 5 products of 5 different colors, can they make sure all the colors are accurate and all the products are accurate and even take photos or videos to keep your customers informed about the journey or keep yourself informed about the journey? And they offer additional services like turning on products before they're shipped. If you're in the business of selling phones, you may want them to turn on the phone to make sure it can actually turn on and work and that it charges correctly before they ship it overseas. Think of this as quality control or quality assurance. Can they consolidate all your goods into one package? Let's say you have a bundle package that you want to sell to customers. For example, you want to have like a shaver and maybe some cream to go with it, but you have different suppliers that provide those services. So you have the shaver come from one supplier and the cream and the lotion come from another supplier, and you want to put them in the same box. Do they offer the service where they can help you create custom packaging to put both those packages into one box so that you can ship them together as in one box? Or another example, maybe you have a bulk order from a customer where they have 5 different headphones from 5 different companies. Can the freight forwarder put all those 5 different headphones in one tight, large box that can save you on shipping costs because the dimensions and the weight get reduced versus shipping 5 individual headphones one at a time, which can be costly? They store my goods at a warehouse for a specific period of time. A lot of these companies will offer free warehousing for 3 to 6 months, depending on how successful your business is. And you want to make sure that they have a system where they can track your goods in the warehouse and then ship it when you have an order fulfilled. So this would be useful if, let's say, you have customers that want the product shipped immediately and actually received within a week, within a very quick amount of time. So it's important for them to offer warehousing services that they can check your product from the supplier and then store it in a staging area to make sure that when the order comes, they can ship it to the customer when it's fulfilled. So you want to make sure they have these kinds of services available. And lastly, can they offer photos and video inspections of your products? This can help you in 2 ways. The first is that If the supplier wants to scam you, you have proof that the supplier tried to scam you, and then you can get your money back and handle the problem inside of China in their warehouse. Another one is if a customer asks for like a large, but they got a medium, you can double check with photos and say, no, this is the wrong size, and deal with it before it reaches the customer. Because once you ship the goods from China to the customer, it may be too late and the customer won't be happy. Note that these services are seldom free, so they're not free most of the time. And they're usually added as value-added services depending on the freight forwarder. If you don't know where to search for these warehousing companies that can help you with the warehousing, I have a contact list for you. Please download that later in this lesson. In that contact list, I have companies known as Quaiza and Next Smart Ship that are great for people that are just starting out their business. No, you want to ask them if, let's say you have a freight forwarder already and their prices are unbeatable. Like no one can match, their prices are very cheap, but they won't do any service for you. You want to ask the warehouse if they can store the goods or package them properly with your label and with like your logo and everything, and then ship it to your freight forwarder inside China so that they can at least have it all packaged and ready to go when it reaches your freight forwarder, because they won't agree to do that, and you can still save on the shipping. Next thing you want to consider are the return policies. If the content does not match your order, can they return the product to the supplier and get your money back? In China, a lot of these platforms give you a 7-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee for your products if there is something wrong. So if the product is not as advertised, the wrong size, the wrong color, can they help you with returning the product inside China? Do they have any extra fees that deal with returns, or can they deal with that themselves? Usually when you ship products back to the supplier in China, you can expect between $1 to $10 on shipping, just depending on what product you're shipping. But I'm really keying in on the part that you want to make sure they have quick service, because within 7 days after you receive the package, if you don't file a claim to get a refund, you may not be able to get the refund. So make sure they can provide that service. And lastly, I got to talk about this one. It's important because it does happen, especially as your business increases. Do they have lost package and insurance policies in place? Packages get lost, both sink, and people steal stuff. It happens. I'm not wishing this to happen to you, but it's going to happen, especially as your business grows. So do they provide any insurance for the packages that you can offer the customer? For example, if you're buying like a cell phone, can you insure the cell phone in the event that it gets lost or damaged, that you'll get free reimbursement for the shipping and the product itself? Realize that if you use some couriers, they may not be able to provide this service, so it's good to double check with your freight forwarder. What are the estimated costs for insurance when it comes to sea and air? It's good to know these costs because this will later influence your profit margins, which I'll go into in a later lesson on how you can increase your profit margins and protect your business. How long is the process to get reimbursed? Let's say the product is lost and you need to refund your customer. What does the process look like for them from step A, B, C to actually get the refund back into your account? And will they have a system or a method to contact the couriers directly to get the status of your product? Your customers are going to need to know where the product is at so that they can feel more at ease. If you give them a tracking number, or if they have a method of searching the tracking number themselves on a website to know exactly where the product is, it will make them feel more at ease versus just saying your product has been shipped with no tracking number. So do they offer tracking number services? I recommend, from my experience, don't be cheap with these services, especially if you have a good, solid business and key customers that are returning customers that keep on buying your products. You want to make sure that your product is protected. You may need to pay that extra 5 to 10% in fees, but realize that it's ease of mind, that if something bad happens, you can get your money back and give the refund back to the customer with very little to no loss. Now, happy interviewing from your shortlist, and I hope you can narrow down your shortlist to 1 to 2 qualified freight forwarders that you can use for your business. Again, you can access my contact list for the freight forwarder contact list, or use the warehousing contact list as a reference if you don't want to do the searching or the interviewing. You can also interview the freight forwarders using the interview checklist I just gave you so that you can go ahead and make sure the freight forwarder is right for you. So now hopefully you interview some freight forwarders. You already narrowed it down to 1 to 2 that can help you for your business. Now let's get more into the cost of what it will actually take into the fulfillment and shipping. In this lesson, I'll be showing you the total fulfillment process as well as the total domestic shipping costs that you can use to calculate for your profit margins. Later on, I will give you a profit margin calculator that you can input all the information and it will tell you how much you should charge your end customer for the product to protect your profit margins. We'll be talking about the total process when it comes to the fulfillment and procurement inside of China so that you're familiar on how it works. Then I will show you a tool on how to calculate the domestic shipping cost of the product. And lastly, I'll be talking about some warehousing that you can use to increase or enhance your business services. The fulfillment process is pretty basic, but it's good to know how it all works so that you know where the product touches at each point. So the first one is that you buy the product on Chinese platforms. You will learn exactly how to do this in the next section, so don't worry if you haven't learned how to do it yet. But once you buy the products, then you need to ship it to either a freight forwarder or a warehouse that can ship it for you inside of China. Because these Chinese platforms will not ship overseas for the most part. Sometimes they will, and sometimes they have the channel set up, but for the most part, they will not. So once you ship it to the freight forwarder or to the warehouse, at this point, you can have inspection services done at the warehouse, and they can confirm, yes, I got the order, I got the numbers correct, the product is correct, the products work, we're ready to ship it overseas. At this point, they ship it overseas to the final address, whether it's to a warehouse, like an Amazon FBA, if you have that business model, or directly to the customer's doorstep, if you have the drop shipping business model. Then lastly, you gotta make sure duties and import taxes are paid. These are usually paid when the products arrive at the country. It's good to know what target country you're focusing on and if your freight forwarder can help you deal with this. I recommend that you keep a freight forwarder that just bills you the import taxes and then you just deal with them there. You should already know these import taxes fees beforehand though. Before you even consider buying the product, you should consult with a freight forwarder and know the total cost of the product when it comes to purchasing the product, the international shipping, domestic shipping, and the import fees. But don't worry, the profit calculator will go into deeper detail on how to do so. So now let's calculate on how to figure out the domestic shipping cost because some of these platforms don't share that with you. So this is a website I use. It's called Quaiza56. Unfortunately, they don't have an English website. So this is a website here. If you want in English, like I mentioned, you can just right click on Google Chrome if you're using the browser and click translate to English. But I recommend keeping it in Chinese. And the reason for that is because you want to select China. So here they have actually shipping estimates for many countries, I think like 90 countries. But you want to look for China because this is domestic shipping, shipping from the supplier to the factory to the freight forwarder. So just go to China. And then here you can see the weight of the package. You're going to need to ask your supplier how much does the product weigh. In this case, let's just say it's 10 kilos and that the dimensions are 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters. Once you have this information filled out, you simply press this button here and it will give you the estimate for the pricing. So I know it's all in Chinese, but on the right side, you can see this is 56 RMB. This is RMB, not in dollars. You can easily search the exchange rate. We're saying 56 RMB to USD. And it will tell you it's about $8.8, which is not bad. You can also right click and click translate to English and it will tell you everything in English. So this is telling you the domestic shipping platform they're using, how they get the cost, and how much it will cost you. And these are just estimates, but from my experience, they're about 90 to 95% accurate, which is good enough. Once you have an idea of how much it costs for the product to get from the supplier to the factory, next you want to consider some warehousing. Now, if you just want to ship the product straight to the customer, you don't have to worry about this because it's as is, but you're at risk here of shipping them a Chinese version of the product that everything is in Chinese. Later on in the course, I will teach you exactly how to make it all in English, but you want to make sure that if you're using warehousing services that you use them properly. For the warehousing service, again, I offered 2 contacts that you can see on the warehousing contact list, Next Smart Ship and Quaiza, but you want to make sure that they have services that can handle your products, that they can store it for a specific period of time. If you need SKU labeling, so if you have a country or a region or continent like the EU that requires SKU labeling, it's pretty much the barcode you see on products like this that can track where the supplier is and how the supplier makes the products and if they have the right certifications. These warehousing services can help you with this. Can they help you with returns? And they can do much more. If you're just starting out, you may not need to worry about warehousing and these kinds of services. But if you want to level up your game after you get a good customer base, you may consider upgrading to using warehousing services. So the next lesson will cover international shipping fees and how the shipping works for international customers from the supplier all the way to the doorstep of the customer.
Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video.
So now let's go into how you can calculate the international shipping for your business and what kind of freight forwarder services you can expect to be provided if you're doing this business. Be frank, overseas shipping is probably the most expensive expense you will encounter in your business. Many times it'll be much more expensive than the product itself. You want to make sure you know how to properly calculate this and that you know how to reference prices. In the event you want to start shipping a new product, it's good to research the shipping and the product fees. You may be enticed to buy a product because it's so cheap, like 50 cents for a good quality product, but the shipping cost may be like $50 if you're not careful. So let's go into how to figure out the shipping costs. We'll be covering different methods on how to calculate the shipping and what kind of shipping services you should use for your business based on your customer requirements, if they're flexible versus if they really want the product as soon as possible. Then we'll go into how to get the estimates for the shipping for the product. And lastly, some after-sales support on how to solve problems if you were to reach any problems with refunds or damaged products or even lost products. So the first one is air. This one is very common, and it's just known as air freight. Typically, the time takes 5 to 14 days from China, maybe even faster if you choose faster shipping methods, but you can expect the price to be a lot more expensive. Now, these are the highest cost, but the target customers, if you're shipping directly to the customer and using the drop shipping model, as in you don't have anyone really touch the product, and the customers are used to receiving the products quickly. I would only recommend this when you have suppliers that are very legitimate and they have good quality products that can ship the product quickly to the freight forwarder, and the freight forwarder can quickly ship it overseas. The time does vary per season, so realize that if you order a product during Chinese New Year's inside China, it could take a little bit longer from the factory to the freight forwarder, so just be aware of that. The next option is sea freight. This can take a lot longer. This can take between 14 to 60 days, depending on how many goods you have. If you have a full container or less than a container. And these offer the lowest pricing actually, but be careful because you may have to incur more taxes. What do I mean? If you do the drop shipping method and you only sell one product that's $50, at customs you report the product as $50. But if you use the sea freight method and you sell maybe 100 products and each product is $50, that's $5,000 worth of products you have to declare at customs, and they may tax you more for the $5,000. So what are the target customers when it comes to this shipping method? Well, you have people that use the Amazon FBA model or warehousing model where they have a warehouse in a local country where they can receive the goods in bulk and be able to sort the goods at their country and ship it quickly. So if customers expect the goods within like 2 to 3 days, you may want to consider this method where you've proven the market, it works, so you ship in bulk to your house or to your warehouse, organize and separate the package separately, then when you have an order online, you ship it to the customer and then you keep the profits. You can also add a personal touch to your packages by writing them a note or whatever. And I will have a profit calculator later on in this course where you can calculate the cost between the drop shipping B2C method and the B2B warehousing Amazon FBA method to see which one is most suitable for your business. Also, from my experience, air freight usually handles customs quicker. Sea freight may take a little bit longer. You need to be more flexible with the time. So now that you know about the 2 shipping methods you can use, let's go into the terms that you can use these shipping methods in. The first one is Ex Works. This one, the buyer has all the risk. So this essentially means that the factory just produces their goods in their factory, and after the goods are built and packaged, their job is done. They don't have to ship it anywhere. They don't have to ship it to the freight forwarder. And this is usually labeled in the contract. Then there's FOB, which is free on board. And this typically has half and half responsibility. So the supplier will be able to ship your goods to your freight forwarder, to the port, to the warehouse, and that's it. At that point, the risk is transferred, and then the buyer has the risk of being able to ship the goods overseas. And the last one, which you should also ask during the interviews, right, is deliveries duty paid. This is full door-to-door services, and the risk is all on the supplier. It's not common for suppliers to offer this, but you may be able to offer this service with your freight forwarder that can take on this risk for you. Let's break it down visually. So you have the first one, which is Xworks. You can see here that the supplier has no risk after they have made the product. So at this point, the risk is transferred from the supplier to the buyer, which would be the e-commerce owner or whoever the drop shipper is. Then you have free on board, which means the supplier will actually agree to ship it to the port or to the warehouse. And then at that point, when the port arrives the goods and inspects it, that's when the risk is transferred from the supplier to either the freight forwarder or to yourself if you do the business. And lastly, you have deliveries duty paid, where the supplier will actually agree to ship from the factory all the way to the final destination or to the warehouse in the country overseas. And at this point, the risk is transferred once the goods have been received inside your country. Some freight forwarders do offer this as a business model, but it is incredibly risky. They even let you pay when you receive the goods here. But this is rare, and you should try to confirm that with your freight forwarder. This middle one, the free on board, is the most commonly used in China. So get used to using this one when you're just getting started. And then as you level up, you can negotiate maybe a DDP terms with suppliers. So how do you calculate international shipping? Actually, it's quite easy. You can use the same website that I mentioned before, right? This is the same website. And let's say I want to go to the US. So in this case, I want to look for the US. Where are you at, US? Here, the USA. Realize that some of the countries here do not have a translation. So if you want to find your country, let's say Mexico, right? I just type in Mexico on Google Translate, and you can see Mexico looks like this, Muxica, and I just saw it there, right there, Muxica. So I'm going to choose Mexico. If I choose Mexico, then I have to put in the dimensions and the weight of the product. So for this one, I just want to know how much it'll cost for 7 kilos. It'd be 20 by 20 by 10 centimeters for the packaging dimensions. And all of this, you're going to need to verify with the supplier directly, which I'll show you how to do a little bit later. Then you want to calculate the cost. Here you can see the different shipping costs and different offers that are available. So if you want to see in English, just simply right click on Google Chrome and click on Translate to English. And everything is in English. So this is the UPS sensitive channel. So if maybe you want to send cosmetics, skincare, branded items, or even other sensitive items like batteries, it's about 1,000 yuan. 1,000 yuan is not cheap. So you can see how the shipping can get pretty expensive. 1,000 RMB to USD, it's about $150. Now, we don't even know how much the product costs itself. So you may be offering a product that costs like $20. So you can see how the shipping can easily overcome the price. So you want to make sure you do the calculations right when you pick your product, which we'll discuss in a later discussion. General cargo, which is a little bit cheaper. There's DHL, there's FedEx. This website offers you a lot of different options that you can choose from. So now that you know how to get the estimate cost of the shipping for international, let's talk about the after-sales support. You're going to run into these issues, and it's good to have a rehearsal with the shipping companies and how to deal with them. So you have the damages and the insurance, the returns, and the certifications. So that's why you should always interview them if they offer insurance and damage policies to get your money back guaranteed for the shipping and the product costs. So if the shipping costs $150 and the product costs $20, you want to make sure that that's bundled together in the insurance so that if something happens and you have proof, the photo, you get all that money back. You want to make sure they can deal with returns. Before it leaves China, you have 7 days. Before it leaves China, you want to make sure they can deal with returns and you can get your money back from the supplier. The quicker they can deal with this, the easier it is for your customers. Once it leaves China, the product is gone. Don't expect to ship it back to China. It's going to be more expensive and it's just not worth the hassle. And lastly, especially if you're shipping to first world countries or places like the United States or Europe that require certifications like CE or ROS, that you have these certifications already ready to go. You can get these certifications from the supplier directly saying, hey, you said on your website you have this certification. How do I get the certification? Can you send it to me? and then you just send the certification to the freight forwarder. Then they can help you deal with the customs when the products arrive to your country, and you can prove, yep, I have the certification. Here's the information of the supplier, and here are the duties that I need to pay to continue going. You want to make sure your freight forwarder can help you throughout this process as well. So let's do an activity. Let's find the shipping cost of a product that is electric, so it's special. Going to Portugal, weighs 5 kg, is 15 by 20 by 30. So before we start, first we need the domestic shipping and the international shipping. I'm going to go back to my calculator here. Everything in Chinese, that's just how it works better. I'm going to look for China, right? Remember, if you forget how it looks like, China, use Google Translate. That's how China looks like. I found China here. It's 5 kilograms, 15 by 20 by 30. Okay, the first one is 36 RMB. So let's just keep the cost in RMB to make it simple. Well, I have, this one is 36. And then plus the international shipping to Portugal. Now, I select the country list, and now I want to look for Portugal. Portugal, you see it right there? They have it in English. Nice. So I'll click on Portugal. From the estimator, right click, English, EMS. So you want to make sure that the items can be sent, because this is an electric package, right? It has batteries in it. So it can't be sent as general cargo. So prohibited items, batteries, powders, liquids, paste, sprays, alcohol. So because it has batteries, it won't work. So you can see DHL here offers a service for 630 RMB. Items that can be sent, general goods, and built-in battery products. So if you're selling electronic products, you can send it in this channel. And it's about 630 RMB. Add the 630 RMB. And the total cost of shipping for a product going to Portugal from the supplier all the way to the final destination, 5 kilograms, 15, 20 by 30, will be 666 RMB, which is quite expensive, but if you're sending like an electronic product, you can definitely make profit out of this. Just to check, 666 RMB to USD is about $100. Right there, it's about $105, and you can use this as a reference. So now you know exactly how to get the cost for the domestic shipping, the international shipping, and how to find your freight forwarder that is suitable for your business in China. Don't worry, at the end, you'll have a profit calculator to make this super easy for you. And in the next section, you're going to be learning about the procurement platforms that you can be using in China to get the cheapest goods. So right now, you have the freight forwarder, you have the payment method set up, and the next step is to actually find the product, which in my opinion is the easiest. I'll catch you in the next lesson.
So at this point, hopefully you know how to find your freight forwarder or your ideal shipping partner, and you already have stable methods to pay suppliers and your freight forwarders directly. So now let's go into the final part, which is finding the product. So before we go into the different applications you can use in China, let me give you an overview of all the sourcing platforms you can experience in China, and then you can select the one that best suits your needs. In this case, I'm only be covering 3. So starting from the left, we have Xianyu. Think of this as a second-hand platform right here, where people can freely sell their goods. It's not usually established businesses, it's usually individuals. Think of it like eBay. They only accept Alipay. The pricing is actually pretty nice. It's pretty nice because they're used goods. They're usually not goods that are brand new, although they do sell brand new every once in a while. And no, they can't ship overseas. Then there's 1688, which is one of my favorites. It only accepts Alipay because the people that created Taobao 1688 also created Alipay, so they don't want competition with WeChat Pay. The pricing is very nice. They can do B2B, as in you can buy multiple items at once. They can also do B2C, as in the MOQ, which is the minimum order quantity is low. And they can sell first-hand goods. Then you have Taobao. Think of this as the Amazon of China. It's mainly tailored towards B2C. However, they're flexible with their payment processes. They can do Alipay, Visa, or MasterCard. They're not the cheapest. You can find it cheaper on 1688. They usually sell first-hand goods, and every once in a while, you may find a supplier that will ship overseas. Although rare, it is possible. Then you have Alibaba, which most of you may know. This is the English platform that has flexible payment methods, Visa or MasterCard. From my experience, it can be quite pricey. Yes, it looks cheap on the website, but if you compare it to the sister product in the Chinese domestic website, it's actually more expensive, and I'll show you an example a little bit later. They can ship overseas, and it's usually a one-stop shop, which is very nice. Do note this is meant for B2B. Then you have AliExpress, and this is meant for B2C. It can pretty much do the exact same thing as Alibaba, but you can buy goods in smaller quantities. Whereas in Alibaba, usually the MOQ is quite high, but with AliExpress, it is low. Then here you have Zhuang, which is another secondhand good platform, and yes, you can use WeChat Pay for this platform, and it's meant for the secondhand market, just like Xianyu, but it's like its counterpart. Then you have Pinduoduo, which is another one of my favorites because the pricing is amazing. You'll see in a second. It can accept WeChat or Alipay if you download the application, and it's usually first-hand goods. And it's mainly meant for B2C, kind of like the AliExpress. And yes, it does not ship overseas for the most part. So be careful of that. Then lastly, you have Weidian and JD. These are like platforms that specialize in certain goods like electronics or kind of like the high end. The pricing is definitely the most expensive. I wouldn't touch these if you're doing it for your business when it comes to shipping overseas or anything like that. So what I'm going to cover are these three platforms: 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo. And also a platform that I created for you guys so you can have access to all of these without having a passport, without having Alipay or WeChat Pay. Let's get into it. So the first one is 1688. They do have a mobile and desktop version, and you can see on the slide here how to access them. I do have a tutorial on them on my YouTube channel, but in this course, I'm going to go very deep into every step so you know exactly how to use it for the mobile and the desktop version. The pricing is very cheap, and the shipping is only done in China, and they accept Alipay. They're not flexible. They won't allow you to use foreign cards. It won't work that way. You can only use Alipay or Alipay Tour Pass, as mentioned earlier. Then you have Taobao. The biggest difference between Taobao is that sometimes you may be able to find freight forwarders that ship overseas because they have experience. Like the supplier may agree or have a channel set for overseas market. Also, they accept MasterCard, Visa, Alipay, which I'll be showing you how to input those later on in this section. And they are mainly made for the B2C market, so they don't have the cheapest pricing. Then going into Pinduoduo, this can be a mix between B2C and B2B depending on what platform you use. I'm going to be showing you the B2C part, and if you want me to include the B2B part, I can definitely do that in the future. What I like about this is that the cheaps are very good, but the downside is it does not have a desktop version as of now. It only has a mobile version. There is a way around it for the desktop version, which I'll be showing you a little bit later. And lastly is Borderless Commerce. I accept Visa or MasterCard. What I did is I developed a platform that can be seen on your phone or on a desktop. And if you have the information of the product you want to buy on 1688 or Taobao, you can paste it onto my website and pay using Visa or MasterCard. No need for the passport, no need for any of that. And I can currently ship to the USA or work with a freight forwarder you already have directly so that you can get the goods to your final destination, unlike Taobao, 1688, and Pinduoduo. So which one is the right for you? There's plenty of options and you need to narrow down your choices. Well, each platform has a strong point that you should consider. Taobao is not the cheapest. They're reliable and they accept foreign cards, so it may be a good starting point if you don't have a passport or an Alipay Tour Pass or anything like that. 1688, you absolutely need the Alipay Tour Pass to be authenticated, so you need the passport and to be able to top up your Alipay Tour Pass, and it has little to no MOQ and it's very cheap. So once you get hang of using a platform like Taobao, maybe 1688 will be your next step to level up your sourcing and to protect your profit margins because it's cheaper. You have Pinduoduo, and for this one, you need either Alipay Tour Pass or WeChat Pay. It's also cheap, but you do need a passport, and the interface is quite new, so this might be something you might want to consider after 1688 or after at least Taobao. And then you have Borderless Commerce, which requires no passport, any bank card, and I will work with your freight forwarder if I currently don't have a channel to ship to your country. This is for most countries around the world, as you've seen in the shipping context. I can support many countries. So now let's do an exercise. So right here I have my phone, and for the mobile versions of each, I want to look at this bag, right? So the first one I'm going to look at is Alibaba. So if you go to Alibaba, I'm on the Alibaba app and I did a picture search, and this is one of the products I found. Realized they actually updated the pricing a little bit, that if you order one piece, it's going to be $8.12 versus the $8.20 that you see on the presentation. Or if you order 50 pieces, it will go down to $7.40, and then if you order 100 pieces or more, it'd be $6.93. So you can already see the pricing there on Alibaba. Next, let's look into Pinduoduo. So here on the app here, you can see I'm on Pinduoduo, and I find one for 36 RMB, which is about 5.7 give or take after the exchange rate dollars for the same bag. And lastly, you have 1688. Here I found a supplier that if you buy 3, it would be 33 RMB each, which can be less than $5. If you do between 50 to 99, it could be 32. And if you buy 100, it can be less than $5. So you can see which one is the right one for you. So now you have a rough estimate on which platforms exist in China and where you're going to get started for sourcing. I left this for last because finding the product is actually very easy in China. What's difficult is making the payment and finding the right freight forwarder. So in the next module, I'm going to be teaching you all about the Taobao platform when it comes to registration, how to navigate the process on the mobile application, on the desktop application, how to deal with refunds, how to talk to the suppliers directly, and much more. Catch you in the next lesson.
So now you're ready to actually start the procurement process. And the first platform I want to introduce you is Taobao. Now, what we're going to learn in this lesson is an overview of Taobao, what it can do, talk about how to use its mobile version, and how to use its desktop version. Each of them have their own perks, so it's good to know the difference between the two. I personally prefer the mobile version at first, and then once you get the hang of the processes, then you can change to the desktop version. So what can Taobao do? This is a great place for beginners because it's usually an open platform. And what I like about it is that they have flexible payments. So if, let's say, your Alipay has some problems, it can accept payments with Mastercard or Visa. Their service is very quick. A lot of the suppliers respond very quickly, especially if it's during Chinese business hours. And sometimes they do overseas shipping, but I would not bank on that. I would continue working with a freight forwarder because that will ensure that your goods actually get to your final destination. But in some rare cases, you may be able to find one. So let's talk about setting up the platform. Now, before we get started, you want to make sure you download the right version. There may be like a fake version. So I'm going to be showing you my screen here. And the version looks like this. I mean, the picture could be a little different, but you want the most updated version of Taobao, right? So I'm going to click on Taobao, and this is how the interface should look like, whether you're using Apple, Android, and all that. So to create your account, you first need to log in on your Alipay. So here, I'm logged into my Alipay that you created in the first part of the lessons, right? About making your payment gateway. So you first have an Alipay account. Here you can see I'm already logged into my account. Little that you might know is that once you create an Alipay account, it will automatically create a Taobao account linked to it. So now I'm going to go open Taobao, and the first thing I'm going to do is log in, which is essentially creating your account. So on the bottom right, you can see my Taobao. I just want to click right there. And your screen may be a little bit different, but essentially what you want to look for is the Alipay logo to log in with your Alipay. This will make the process of logging in a lot easier in the future. So on the bottom, there's an agreement that you can select right there and click on the Alipay login. So I'm going to use my Alipay to log in. And because I'm using the same phone as my Alipay is logged into. You can see my Alipay here is already showing up as the option. So I'm going to click on agree. Boom. I made my account. Super easy, right? So just want to clarify that once you get into the account, you want to go on the bottom right, say My Taobao, and then select the Alipay logo. Don't try to sign up for a completely new account. It will make things complicated. Just keep it under your Alipay account. So now let's talk about the interface and how Taobao works for the mobile version. So I'm going to go to the home page, which is this button right here. And this is where you essentially search for products or suppliers for everything when it comes to the Taobao platform. You can ignore this button right here. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is pretty much what's hot and trending based on the analysis on Taobao. But I won't pay too much attention to it. You really don't need it for this tutorial. The middle are the messages you have with the Taobao platform. So here you can see I have an order that's been shipped. So this is an order that I have placed in the past. You get all your major updates for your orders, and you can see the conversations you've had with suppliers. All the conversations you have with suppliers will be saved right here under the chat. So just remember how they look like, and you can say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need, and you'll be able to save them right there. So that's pretty much the chats. Then you go into this button right here, and this is your cart. So you have anything added to your cart, you'll be able to see it here and review it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Don't worry, I'll teach you how to add to the cart in a little bit. And then lastly, this is like the hub of your account. So this is My Taobao. And this is where pretty much you're going to change all the settings and see where the status of each product is. Going back, the bottom left here is, these are products that haven't been paid for yet. So let's say you went to the checkout, but it hasn't been paid for completely. You would see the item in here. And usually you have a 24-hour period before you can pay for it. So if you have like a deal with a company that they're like, hey, if you pay within 24 hours, we'll give you this limited coupon, you most likely will see it here. When you see a number or anything in this button right here, this is that says that the product has already been paid for, but not yet shipped. So if you pay for a product, you want to know what the status is, you can see here that it hasn't been shipped yet. Then the middle one here is products that are in shipping. And let's say this one's already been shipped. You can just click on the middle button here to see where it is in the shipping process. So here you can see it's potentially going to get here by today. It's what it's saying, but we'll see about that. And this is the shipping information. So the middle one is to check the shipping information. The orange one here is to confirm you received the product. I don't suggest you ever click this unless you've confirmed with the freight forwarder that you've received the product. Then after the product has been received, you will then be able to comment or review the product here. But then you can say, hey, this is a good product. You can give reviews or not do anything. And the last one here is quite important. This is the refunds, which I'll go into later. But this is the refunds tab, and you click on it, you can see the status of your refunds. So these are all the products that I've have successful refunds for. So that's pretty much an overview of the Taobao platform. So you can see how it works. It's pretty self-explanatory. And once you get used to it, trust me, it'll be so much easier. So now let's go into adding your address. Now, as I mentioned, Taobao won't ship overseas for most of your products. So you should already have your freight forwarder information, especially the receiving warehouse address, ready to go. So how do you do that? So on the top right corner, there's a cog or a settings menu. You're going to click on that. And it's actually pretty easy once you do it one time. You just click on here, my receiving address. And these are all the addresses that are already in the system, but yours will probably be empty because you're making this for the first time. If yours is empty, you simply click on the orange button here, and you'll be prompted to put an address. Well, let me show you something cool. If your forwarder sends you the full address in Chinese, by the way, all these addresses must be in Chinese. That is fantastic. Okay, so here you can see this is a conversation I have with the freight forwarder. If I copy this address, because I don't know how to speak Chinese or write Chinese, right? Taobao will automatically recognize the address details and confirm the address. So this is one way to add the address, right? You see there, I just copied and pasted their information, and then I can make the changes. But let's say you don't know how to do that. You can copy it one by one. So the first part is the receiver's name. So you probably have a code or something because each forwarder has your own account. So in my case, I'd put like Michael123 so that when they receive the package, they know it's from Michael123 and it's coming from me. The phone number, you would pick, it's most likely a Chinese phone number. You would put in the total phone number there on the second one. Then this is where it gets a little tricky. So let's say you want to pick an address, right? So the address starts from big to small in China. So let's say I'm in Shenzhen. So I'm going to pick the district first, which is Guangdongshi, right? And then I'm going to look for Shenzhen. Now, this is just something you're going to need to practice because you are using the mobile version. If you use the desktop version, it's a little easier. And then I know the district inside of Shenzhen. So you have the big district, which is Guangdong, and then the city, Shenzhen, and then the district inside of Shenzhen. And then you'll be able to pick this out. So let's say I say Futianchu, and then I just pick the road it's in. See, I'm just picking random things here. And it goes to the level of where the street address is. But then down here, you want to put the full address. So again, just get with the freight forwarder, copy and paste it here, and then you can save it and you're good to go. But that's essentially how you add the address. This last button here is to make this address your default address or not. So if you have it ticked, that means you want to make it your default address. If you don't have it ticked, that means you don't want to make it your default address. So every time you place an order, it'd be the first address you put in there. So that's how you add an address. Once you add it once, it's super easy. I totally recommend you use the AI function of copying it and then opening the app, and it should automatically detect it. Otherwise, you'll need to put everything in one by one. So now the fun part. Let's go into finding the product. So go to the home page. There's 2 or 3 ways you can find this product. I'm going to go through each one. So let's just say I want to find wireless headphones. Well, this platform is meant for the Chinese market, so you need to use an app like Google Translate to translate what you're looking for into Chinese. So here you can see I typed in English and I'll change it to Chinese, and it's Wuxian RG, right? So on the top here, I can just paste it and then just search for it. And here you can see different search results for the headphones, right? But let's say you want to filter it by the price or by the brand. You can totally do that. You can click here, right here on the filter button. And then you can say, hey, I want the price to be between 100 to 400 RMB. So now you can see it's been filtered by the price I put in there. I think. So yeah, that was how to find a product for like using Google Translate. But there's another way to find a product which I prefer. And it's super easy. So if you're in the mobile app, you can see here there's a photo icon, like a photo icon. So you can click on the photo icon, and then I already have a product right here, a Pikachu. Oops. So notice there how it accidentally, like if you have something in front of you, right? If you have something in front of you, you can just click the photo icon and scan it, and it will detect the product. And look at that. It actually detected my Stream Deck right there. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a picture.
Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video.
And I want this Pikachu figure. And then it will recommend similar Pikachu figures that look like the picture I had saved on my phone. You can either scan like an object that's right in front of you or just pick a photo in your archives to look for a product. And it's that easy. Like I definitely prefer the photo search so that you know exactly what product it is. So let's say you see an advertisement for a really nice product that you can change a little bit to sell. Take a picture of it, save it onto your phone, and you can find it right there. So now let's look into reviews and contacting the supplier. So as for the Pikachu example, I like this one. So just click on the product right there. Now there's a couple things you want to look for here. You scroll down a little bit and you can see the reviews here. This is the reviews section. It has over 1,000 reviews. So if you want to look at the reviews, you can click right here and it will tell you about the quality. And usually the more reviews and the more pictures you see of the product, the better. Look at that. So they don't just sell Pikachu, they sell like all the Pokemon stuff. Tons of reviews. If you want to look into them, you can. But yeah, you can see it's a pretty reputable company. To select the product, once you're inside the product, is that there might be different variations. So here you can see tons of Pikachu, tons of options here, right? So let's say I like this one right here, right? I want that one right there. And that one's not in stock. Where to be in stock, you can see that on the bottom here, it tells you can add it to your cart or buy it immediately. But if you see the option like this, like it's red and it has that option, that means it's not in stock, right? It's not in stock. So I want, say, this one. I'm going to add it to my cart. I usually always add it to my cart. I never buy it immediately. So I'm going to add it to my cart. It's been added to my cart, right? So now I want to contact the supplier directly. And it's actually super easy if you're in the mobile app. You just click on this button right here, which is service. And then you just start chatting with them. Realize they only speak Chinese. Very seldom do they speak English. So here you can just chat with them, blah, 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 hello. In this case, I'm just going to say hello, just so you have it on record. And then usually it will, most of the time, it will be the actual supplier talking to you. You might have to go back and forth between Google Translate, I want to buy 100 of these Pikachus, right? And then you have to play the whole game, copy it, paste it. So here they already responded. And then you can go into more detail about your order. So it's pretty easy. So if we go back to the home page, you'll be able to see on the top, this is the latest conversation I've had with the supplier. I have it saved right there. So now you know how to add the product to the cart, right? So I already have it in the cart. So I'm going to look at my cart right here. I'm going to pay for this, right? In this case, I'm going to pay for it and actually go for a refund to teach you the process of everything. So I'm interested in this product. I'm going to click on it. And then I'm going to click on checkout right here. So importantly, if you already have your default address, it should already be up here. But if not, you can always select up here and choose any different address you want to ship this product to, or even continue to add a new address here and go through the whole process I already mentioned before. But in this case, I'm going to use the default address. Now for the payment methods, there are 3. So in this case, it's hit or miss. Sometimes suppliers will accept bank cards directly. I don't see the option here on the app. You may be able to see it a little bit later on the desktop version. I'll go later. But right now there's 3 options. You can pay with Alipay, which I suggest you do because you should use Alipay TourPass. The second one is to find a friend to help you pay. So let's say you have a forwarder or an agent in China. You can just tell them, hey, pay for this product after you have the address and everything set. And the last one you won't have available because you're not a Chinese citizen. This is pretty much like get a loan or pay later option. So that's super easy. Here it tells you the total cost. So I'm going to go with the Alipay option. I'm going to go ahead and make that payment. Now I'll go straight to my Alipay. Make sure you select the Alipay TourPass, okay? If you don't see the Alipay TourPass, you might get lucky and you might see an option at the bottom that says overseas support. So you can see here, overseas support is going to cost $1.61. So I'm going to continue with the payment. And then here's where you can add your foreign bank card. Now, some of these suppliers may not have overseas support, but I'm showing you here this one does. So it already has my foreign bank card added, but you can add a new debit card or credit card here. Boom! So this makes it easier for you if you want to pay directly with your Visa or MasterCard or your bank card. You don't need to always use Alipay TourPass if it expires or something like that. This you can use permanently, and you want to find people that accept bank cards like that. So check that out. I'm going to make the payment on my regular card because I already have, Chinese bank account and everything. So here we go with the payment. Boom. If the payment is successful, you will see the payment is successful, and then you can click here to go back to the home page. So now I'm back to the home page, and you want to check the process of your order. So again, go to my Taobao here, and you can see that I already have an order here that I've already paid for, which is a Pikachu. So the Pikachu order is there. So now let's say I want a refund. In this case, the product has not been shipped, so I'm going to get the refund immediately. But let's say I want to get a refund. So wherever your product is at, whether it's before shipping or after shipping, you can apply for a refund. But there's a different process if you apply for it after it's been shipped. Okay, so make sure if you want a refund, you do it quick. If for some case the freight forwarder, the inspection company sees a problem with the product and they want to refund it, don't worry, I'll teach you how to do that as well. So in this case, before the product's been shipped, so I'm going to click on the product here. And here you can see you're at the main page of the product. It tells you the address you're shipping it to and the product. You just want to click on here for a refund. And you want to select your reason. Just say the first one is fine. Okay, we're not going to complicate different options. Then it's going to tell you the refund amount. So this is what you paid for. And then a small reason. So you can use Google Translate for this. So there you go. And the refund process will be started. So then at this point, once you see the timer has started, the refund has started, right? And then you'll be able to see the refund process here. Right now, it's still on the suppliers. Make sure you stay on top of this on Taobao, right? Okay, so let's say the product's already been shipped. So you go here and you click here. And this is where it gets a little bit more complicated for your order. You want to go on more here and you want to click here for a refund. Now, I'm not actually going to go through this process because I actually want these goods, but let me show you how it works. So the first option is I want a full refund. I'm not going to return the product. And this would mainly work if it's complete fraud and they sent you a completely different product line they're just trying to scam you and you have proof for that. Like for example, if you bought something and you receive the goods and it's like an empty package. That can't happen. It's just an empty package. And you have pictures of it saying this is an empty package, took a video. And that's the option where you will choose the first one. I want to refund. I don't want to send it back. The second one is most likely what you're going to use. So this is, I want a refund and I want to return the product. So you'll be able to select your products, right? And then you just go through the confirmation. So now you selected which products you actually want to return to the supplier. You need to select the reason. It doesn't matter which one you pick really. Okay, and then the method you're going to ship it. So there's two ways you can ship it on Taobao. The first one is the Taobao platform will send someone to the supplier or to the address and pick it up. And then they'll ship it back to the supplier. Or the second option is you ship it back yourself. Like let's say you have a relationship with a freight forwarder and they can just ship it back to the supplier. Then you decide on that. And then you just go, hey, I want to ship it back, blah, 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 blah. And you're good to go from there. So I'm not going to actually continue with this process, but you can see the step-by-step on how exactly to do so. Here, stay on top of the refund process. And then they should send you the address you should ship it to. Or if you selected they pick it up for you at a certain time, they should do that. And then that once the product's been shipped and you can prove it, you can just select, hey, the product's been shipped. Here's this tracking number they're probably going to ask for. And then you're good to go. Hopefully you don't have to do this, but I'm teaching you how to do it just in case. So now let's go into the desktop version, which is a little bit more user-friendly than the mobile version. So here we are in a Taobao interface. Now, if you have a VPN into China and you're using a Chinese network, it will look a little different. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be assuming that you're outside of China. So this is what it will look like. It will say like World Taobao because it will sense that your IP is outside of China. So here you have the same thing. So, the only issue is that you don't have the picture image search. You would if you have the Chinese version, but here. So to log in, you just go to My Taobao here. But before I go into that, let me show you something really cool that you can do if you use Google Chrome as your browser. So you go to Languages here under Advanced Settings. Offer to translate pages that aren't in the language you read. And then I just put everything in English. Make sure that is ticked on. And why is this important? Because when you click here, on the top right corner, there should be an option to translate it into English. Just give it a little bit. Boom. You might have to refresh it. So now everything is in English, which will make your life easier. So I want to go to My Taobao, right? But I'm not logged in yet. So how do I log in? It's going to ask me to log in. There's two methods you can log in. If you have an account number and account name and password, you can do that. I would recommend you use the scan the QR code option. So you log in first on your phone. Once you're logged in on the phone, you can see on the home page here, there's a scan button. Just click on the scan button because you're already logged in the phone, and then right there. And then here you just want to click on the orange button that says I want to confirm the login. And your login, there you go, boom, you're in your account. Super easy, right? So that's the way I would recommend that you log into Taobao. It just makes life so much easier. So I'm in my hub and I want to add a new address. Well, once you're in the new hub, you can add a new address by clicking here. Remember, you can always use Google Translate if you get lost. So my shipping address, right? And then here will tell you which address is your default address, or if you want to add a new address, you can put it here. Sometimes you can add a foreign address here. So if you click here, you'd be able to choose countries like the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. And this is hit or miss. Sometimes the supplier won't agree to ship overseas. So be careful with this. I recommend you just use your freight forwarder. And then you can just put your Chinese address here. So you need to figure out the province you're in. So because everything's in English, it makes it so much easy. So if I'm in Anhui, my city is in Huinan. And then just copy and paste the address. Make sure you copy and paste in Chinese, okay? Put the postal code, the name of the person, and then their phone number. And then you can save that address and you're good to go. Super easy, right? Let's say I want to go to the Taobao homepage now, and I want to look for products. Unfortunately, the desktop version does not have the picture search unless you're using the Chinese version in mainland. But you can type it in English. So if I want to search for like an iPhone, it should have a pretty decent search for the iPhone. Look at that. And then you can see different options you can filter by. But here's the interesting part. So I'm going to make everything in English. What I like about the desktop version is that you can filter it a lot better. So if you want the version to be like US, you can filter by US. Here you can see free shipping, return within 7 days, all that. Secondhand if you need it. The price, you can change it here. And then where it can ship to. You can see there aren't that many options, but you get my point here. So you would have to search it there. Unfortunately, you won't be able to search it inside with the picture option that I really like. So let's say I click this iPhone here, and it gives you different specs. Tells you all about the colors, how big it is, the amount of GB. And then if you go down to the product, you can see here there are reviews that you can look at. So evaluation would be the reviews. If you don't see any, there you go. There are the comments. Here's some pictures of people that purchase the products, and the good thing about this is that the reviews can be seen in English, unlike the version I showed you with the application on your phone. Everything's in Chinese and can't be added to Chinese. But here you can see people's reviews. So let's say I want to add this to my cart. So I just add it to my cart, logged in. I chose this version. See, it said it added to the cart. So now let's say you want to talk to the supplier directly. It's a little bit more complicated on the desktop version because you need to download a third-party app, which is why I suggest you continue using the mobile version. It's just so much easier. But if you do want to talk to them directly in the desktop version for some reason, just click here on this little bubble band. It's called the communication. Now what's going to happen is that it's going to prompt you to download a third-party software to be able to chat with these guys. It's not responding. So in this case, like you can see the desktop version is not even working. So just stick with the mobile version if it comes to. So I'm not going to go through the whole purchase of this one, but it's pretty much similar. You just go to your shopping cart here. See any products you have in your shopping cart. If you want to buy something, just click it. Continue to the purchase. Okay, here you see I'm at the ordering process. By the way, you just saw something on the top there. If you see something like that, you can ignore it. So you can just click out of it. So here you get to choose the address you want to send it to, types of products. You translate it to English, makes it a little bit easier. You can select if you want insurance on it. You can have a friend pay, as I mentioned before, or continue to submit your order. Now, if you submit your order, this process is a little bit different than you may be used to on the mobile version. Right now, it's loading up Alipay as a payment option. You can select different methods to pay. So here, this is using my Alipay, but you can also select different methods to pay. Okay, if you don't want to use Alipay, you can add a different bank card. International bank cards. Again, this will be your Visa or Mastercard. I already have some here, but if you want to add a new card, you can just use another credit card. Put the information of your bank card in here. Just follow the steps and you'll be able to order with your bank card. So now I'm going to go to my Taobao here. And this is, again, like the central hub of what's up with your orders. So instead of the pretty pictures, this is like the before payment. This one is already paid for, but not yet shipped. This one is already shipped. This one is any reviews that you want to put on the items. And this one is the process of your returns. So let's talk about returns. I already filed a return for this one, but for returns, you can click here. And then the option should be here to do a refund, right? So I already applied for this process, but the same option, you can always translate to English to make a refund. So I already applied for it, so you won't see it here. And this one's already been shipped. If you want to check the shipping process again, on the right side, just click right here for the shipping process. Do not click this one. This means you received the product. You just want to click here for the shipping process. And we'll tell you where it's at. It'll give you details of where it's at. So now you know how to use Taobao for the mobile app when it comes to creating an account, logging in, and for the desktop app. I personally prefer the mobile app, but I showed you both methods. Once you're logged into the mobile app and the desktop app, whatever you do for each one, they will be synchronized. So if you buy something on the desktop version under your account, you'll be able to see it on the mobile version. So you saw how easy it was to actually look for products. I totally prefer the picture option on the mobile app. So now you know how to use the first of the three major sourcing platforms in China. So happy shopping, and I'll join you in the next lesson if you want to take it up a level for even cheaper pricing on how to use, register, and do everything you need to know on 1688. So now let's talk about 1688, which is the next step from Taobao, and it actually is a lot cheaper than Taobao, so you may really want to get interested in using this. So what you're going to learn in this lesson is an overview of 1688, how to use it on the mobile device, which is very convenient to use, and also how to use it on the desktop device. So what can 1688 do? What I like about this platform is that it is very cheap. Note that some of these products have an MOQ, which I'll show you about later, but it is super cheap. The downside is that it doesn't support international bank cards. You must use the Alipay Tour Pass that you learn in an Alipay lesson to use this platform, but it is grossly cheap. And they ship pretty quick inside of China. They have a very quick turnaround. So let's go into creating an account. When you create an account, you want to make sure that you follow the right order to create an account for this. So first, you want to make sure you're logged into your Alipay account, right? That you've been logged in, that you use for your Taobao. Then you want to log into Taobao, and you want to make sure you're good to go with Taobao being logged in there, as you mentioned last time. Then you want to make sure you download the right 1688 app that looks like this, that you can find in the App Store or on the Google Play Store. You click on there, then you go to Me. On the bottom, you want to select Agree, and I'm going to select to log in through Taobao, but you can select to log in through either Taobao or Alipay. It's going to ask you to confirm because it should already be linked. It's all one ecosystem, right? You want to press the orange button to confirm, and boom, you're logged in. Super easy, right? To create an account. So let's talk about the interface a little bit. And this is actually very similar to Taobao. So it's not that much difficult. So you have the home page that you can search for products here, whether you're using a picture or the text. Here you have different categories of products, but I'm not going to go into too much detail with that. Here you have chats that you have with the suppliers. So here you can see different chats you have with different suppliers. You can just look through them, right? Here's your cart, that if you have any products that you've added to the cart that you may want to pay for. And then this is the Me tab that kind of has everything you need in one place. On the left here, it's before payment, so any products before payment, which I don't have. On the right here is products that I've already paid for but not yet shipped. If you see an icon here, like a number or something, that means your product's been shipped. Here's if you want to add any reviews for a product. And then the last one is for any returns that you have processed. But let's talk about adding an address, which is super easy. So this is already connected to Taobao and Alipay. So you may already have the address there. But if you don't know, click on the cog here. Click on Receive Address here. And then you can, if you already have the address on Taobao, you can just select the address there. If you want to add a new address, you need to put in the person's name here, their phone number here in China, Chinese phone number, their zip code here, the city they're in. So let's say they're in Shanghai. Just picking random ones. Right? And their detailed address in here. And then back here in the bottom, you can say I want it as my default address or not, and then click on Save. Boom, super easy. So let's talk about finding a product. So on the home page right here, you want to find a product either one of two ways. One is using Google Translate. So if I want to search for like a basketball, in Google Translate, figure out how to say basketball in Chinese, copy it, paste it in the search bar, and you'll get different options for basketball here. So you see some basketballs you can see you pick out of. Right? You can also click on the filter here, and you can select if you want them to ship it within 48 hours. And you can put the price point here. Let's say you want between 30 and 80 RMB, and just click on the orange button, and boom, you can see it filters by the price. Or you can search for the product, my favorite way, which is through a picture. Go back to Pikachu.
And you can see it has different options here for that product. I like this one. Now, something to note is that 1688 may have an MOQ, a minimum order quantity, and you can figure out what the MOQ is right here where the price is. Here, the MOQ is 2. If I want to add it to my cart, I can click on here to add it to my cart. And then sometimes the supplier is good. They have the picture of the product that you can see on the left side, but sometimes they don't, which is why I would recommend you use the desktop version for this. But I'm showing you both ways. So I like this Sleepy Pikachu and this Sleepy Snorlax. I want to add them both to my cart. Boom, both added. But what if you want to talk to the supplier and look at the reviews? Super easy. If you want to look at the reviews, just scroll down a bit and wow, this has 2,500 reviews. Just click here and you can see the reviews of the people putting, the product. Oh, this is so cute. Like, it makes me want to buy some. And you can scroll through different reviews. If you want to see every single one, just click there. Look at that. These are happy customers. But after you look at the reviews, let's say you want to talk to the supplier directly, just go to the shop and then click on this little bubble man and then just say hello. But I recommend you keep everything in Chinese because if they figure out that you're a foreigner, it may be room for them to go ahead and scam you, and you don't want to do that. So be very careful. When it comes to speaking in English, just use Chinese. Now let's talk about cards and payments. So let's say I want to buy this product right here, which is just a basketball, right? So I'm going to go to the payment option. And luckily, this basketball company doesn't have an MOQ. You can just buy one, which sometimes you see the case on 168, which is nice. On the top here, you want to select the address. If you want to add a new address, you can just click the orange button, but you can select the addresses you have there. And then here you want to pay attention to the shipping. This one doesn't have shipping included, or this one does have shipping included, but here you can say the shipping price. A lot of the times they don't include it on the bottom line price. So to get the total price of the package, you want to know how much the shipping is so that when you use the payment calculator, you know exactly how much it will cost. So in this case, it has no shipping, but sometimes it may have shipping. So next, I'm going to go to the order. And unfortunately, you can only use Alipay for this. And in particular, Alipay Tour Pass. What do I mean? So if I click I want to pay, if I select my bank cards, you have to select the Shanghai bank account you get with Alipay Tour Pass. You won't be able to add any foreign bank cards, unfortunately. They don't accept Visa, MasterCard. It must be either a Chinese bank card or your Alipay Tour Pass card. In this case, I'm going to continue with the payment. And you can see the payment is complete. Now, if I go to my home page, you can see products have already been paid for right there. So now let's talk about how you can see the status of your product. So as I said in the home page, you have before payment, after payment, shipped, review, and returns. Now in this case that I just ordered, I'm going to actually get a refund so that you know how to get a refund. So I want a refund for this first product. You can just click right here for refunds. I want a refund for the whole thing. And then here's a total cost of what you're going to get the refund for. You can just say, I don't want it as a reason. Make sure you click on continue for the refund. Just say, I don't want to buy. You don't need to go to a specific. And then the refund process has started. Look at that. So now you can see here, the refund process has started. I did it right here. And it's in the middle of processing. It hasn't been shipped yet. It's no problem. If it has been shipped, you would click on the product, right, in the shipping here, and then you would look for a refund that looks like this. And it's just like the Taobao process where you can select to return the product and get a refund,
Or you can select just get a refund because they try to scam you. And as long as you have pictures and you can prove it, it will be okay. So now let's go into the desktop version of 1688, which is just as nice in my opinion. So here you have the 1688 website, just like this. And to make an account here, it's super easy once you have the mobile account. So you go to My 1688, just like with Taobao. Once you're logged in on your mobile app, you want to click on login via QR code. On the home page on 168 on the app, you can click scan it, and then you confirm. You just need to press the orange button that says yes, confirm. And boom, you're logged in. It is that easy. So once you're logged in, all the addresses from Taobao and everything should be saved. But if you want to change that, so once you're on the home page of my account, which was like this, you can just go here and click on right here, which is address management. You can try and translate to English, but as I mentioned, it's going to be pretty, it could be pretty ugly. But you can translate to English. You can go to my management and then say, I want to add a new address, put the person's name, the district information. I'm just making this up as an example. Their detailed address, their zip code, their phone number, and if they have a landline, you can put it on here. Make sure for the name, you actually put your code that the freight forwarder tells you to put on there. And then here you can select if you want to make this a default address or not. But yeah, that's super easy to do. So let's go back to the home page of 1688. And I want to click here for the home page. So let's say I want to look for the product. What I like about 1688 desktop is that you can look for the words here, like using Google Translate. Like let's say you want to buy an LED light. You can copy, paste it here, enjoy the search results. Right, different LED lights. Boom, boom, boom. Or you can just search via picture. Here, Pikachu, just like I did with Taobao. And then it will give you options for that in the pictures. And what I like about this is that you can filter by price, right? Lowest to highest price. From what district it comes from what city it comes from. So if your port is like in Shenzhen and you want it to be made in Shenzhen, that will just make it a lot faster, as an example. There's an option here you can click if they can ship it within 24 hours, which is insanely quick, but it is very good for drop shipping. Something I do want to note that if you do search for it like this, as I did with the LED lights, you can also do the price range here. So like 10 to 50. And then it will do the 10 to 50 LED lights. The MOQ is here. If you just want it to be one, you can buy one of these. Typically, from my experience, 1688 is usually 2 or more, which is fine because 2 is more than enough to buy a sample, and it's not going to break the bank. And then you can get most of the products for, you just buy 2 at a time or 1 at a time if you select MOQ for 1. So let's say I want to buy, let me see something cool here. Maybe these LED lights. By the way, for you dropshippers, you can easily just save this image and then it can be part of your product. You might have to Photoshop out the text, but that's not that hard to do. And you can make it your own. Plus, they also have their own advertising ads that you can also save the video and use it for your own website instead of you having to create the product video from scratch. So here's the product list, and I want to show you how this is different from Taobao. And I think it's actually better. So once you're at the product list, you can translate it to English, right? And then here you'll be able to see the different types of products you can buy. So here it'll tell you like the 2-pack, the single pack. The 2-pack will obviously cost more, and then you can buy in bulk here and add it to the cart, right? Here you get more details about where it's coming from in the country. So if you want to pick a location, like maybe your freight forwarder is in Shanghai or Shenzhen, you can get an idea what the delivery cost would be. Of course, if you buy more, the delivery cost will be more usually. So you get an idea of what the delivery cost would be. And then you can order it now, add receipt, and cross-border distribution. Don't select the cross-border unless you have a company inside China. You can always negotiate with them, talk to them directly. I just recommend you add it to your cart, or you can order now. So this is why it gets a little messy if you translate it to English. But you can just add it to your cart and see all the details there. Here you can see the product details. More product details. Again, you can easily use this right click, save the image if you need to. Reviews. So if you're in a country that requires certifications, it's always good to ask them about the certifications up front. Sometimes they'll post it in the product page. Here I don't see it, but I thought I saw it like here. Boom. They have these certifications, CE, ROS, PS. So you can always ask them to send you these in the event you need to pass customs. This is just some friendly advice for anyone that wants to like actually go deep into shipping into their country. I'm going to add this to my cart. Add it successfully. To go to my cart, let's go here's my cart. Then you can see the product here. If you want to make the purchase, you just select the product, go ahead and make the purchase. Now, I personally believe that buying this on the mobile app is just easier and more friendly to do, but if you want to buy directly on the desktop, it is possible. So you go to this page, and then here you can see again the shipping cost for the supplier from the factory to the freight forwarder. You choose the address here. If you want to change the address, you can change to another address that you have on file. This one is just the default address. And then you can continue on with the payment that will go into Alipay, just like you did with Taobao, and it will work from there. Again, only Alipay TourPass will work for this, unfortunately. So if you want to know what's up with your order, just go with my Alipay, my Alibaba. And as mentioned, this will give you an overview of all your products. So this would be before shipped, after ship. You can always click on here to get all your products going on. You can click on here to get more details. So this one is before shipment, after shipment, going through the refund process, any reviews. So if you do want a refund, I already got a refund for this one started, but you can see here you would look for something that says Tuikwan, right? You would click on it. Again, you can also translate to English. You can also try it that way. The process is very similar as you would with a Taobao for the refund. You just go say, I don't want the product, especially if it hasn't been shipped. It's pretty straightforward. If it's already been shipped, you can click on here to check the process, and it will tell you exactly where it is in the logistics process. And you'll be able to get a logistics number that you can send to your freight forwarder. Pretty easy to use. And I like using the phone and 168 hand on hand so that it is pretty easy process. So now you know how to use Taobao and 168. In my opinion, that's more than enough to get started on this whole process on finding the products, your right supplier, and everything. However, in the next lesson, I'll show you how to use Pinduoduo, which can sometimes be cheaper and easier to use than 168 or not. So hope you enjoy this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.
Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video.
So now let's talk about the third platform called Pinduoduo. And this one kind of just came out of nowhere over the past couple years, and you can kind of see why it's worth to learn about this, because possibly you can find the cheapest products in here. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you an overview about the platform Pinduoduo. You'll learn how to use the mobile version to include signing up, ordering, finding products, refunds, tracking, and all that. And lastly, I'll teach you guys how to access the wholesale version. Very little people know about the wholesale version, but I'll teach you a method to do that. So if you want to buy in bulk, or if you want to expand your e-commerce business so that you can buy more than one at a time, there's a way to do that, but only with this method. So let's talk about what Pinduoduo can do versus the other platforms. Well, what I like about Pinduoduo is that it's its own separate app that accepts Alipay or WeChat Pay. Unlike Taobao 1688 that only accept Alipay because they're competitors. The people that invented Taobao also invented Alipay, and they don't want to cross over the e-payment platforms. But Pinduoduo doesn't discriminate. You can use both methods. Sometimes the product is cheaper on Pinduoduo. Not all the time. You're going to have to do your research, but sometimes. Because the way Pinduoduo works is that it's a social media e-commerce site, meaning that if you want to buy something, you don't buy it individually. You can find someone to help you buy it with you as together to get a discounted price. You can either do it manually, or you can just wait for the system to find you somebody, which usually works out pretty well because the population in China is pretty long. The downside is that it can be time consuming if you don't know how to find a person to buy the product with you, and you just wait for the platform to buy it for you. From my experience, it doesn't take more than 24 to 48 hours for the platform to find someone, but it's just something to note of if you want the absolute cheapest pricing. So let's go into making an account. First, you need to download the application. Just like you did with 1688 Taobao, I highly recommend you download the application independently. It will just make it so much easier to use. Don't use the WeChat program version. So the app looks like this. You can see in the top left corner, it has Pinduoduo. Don't confuse it with the other apps. Look carefully. It has 3 characters, Pinduoduo. So I'm going to click on the app there, and I download the app. Sometimes you might get an ad like this. You can just look for something that looks like Taobao right here to skip the ad, which I highly recommend. A lot of these e-commerce platforms, they love popping up ads as soon as you open them. It's truly annoying, and I wish you could get rid of them, but you really can't. So to log in, it's super easy. You're going to need a WeChat account, and it's better if your WeChat account already has a foreign card linked to it, but it doesn't need to be linked to it at this moment. You can do that later, which I'll show you. So first, you want to go to my personal center here on the right, and you're going to see an option that looks like this to log in to your WeChat. This is the fastest way, in my opinion, to log in. If you try to log in another way, it might ask you for a Chinese phone number, and it can get quite messy. So as long as you have a WeChat account, as I mentioned in the first module of the lessons, you can go ahead and make the account. So I'm going to log in my WeChat account. Because I'm already logged in on my WeChat, it automatically logged me in. In your case, if you're logged into your WeChat on your phone, it may ask permission to log into your WeChat account, and then you'll go ahead and get in. And you see how easy it is to make an account. So now let's talk about how this platform works. This isn't exactly the same as Taobao and 1688. It's a little bit different, but I'm going to show you how it works. So here is the home page where you can search for products, different products that you have bought or that looked into. All here can be cheap food, clothing, whatever. This one is, wow, it's full without. So this is all the platforms you're following, the suppliers you're following, and live streams. I don't recommend you guys
go ahead and use this one. You don't need to use that. This one is the chats or the status updates that you have with the platform. So if you talk to some of the suppliers, you can, have conversations with them, just like it is for the other apps. And then my personal center is a little bit different than what you may be used to. Let me explain each process. So on the left here, top left, this button is any order that's pending payments that you put in your cart and you accepted to pay, but you haven't paid for yet. This button right here is any orders waiting for people to buy with you. So if you're group buying a product, which I'll teach you in a little bit about how to group buy is, and it's not been purchased by another person to get the discounted rate, it will show up here. This one is that the product's already been purchased and it's waiting shipment. This one is that the product has been shipped. And this one is just for leaving reviews on the product after you purchased it. And those are like the big items. You can also look at the bottom here, and these are like to contact customer service or to add your address and all that. By the way, I will just add one more button in here just so you guys know. If you want to save things to your cart, it's not like on Taobao 168 where you have a cart. You actually don't. You just have to favorite the store. So to favorite the store, you can click here, and these will be all your favorite stores, and I'll teach you how to favorite a store, which is like adding it to the cart, but not exactly. So let's talk about adding an address. So to add an address is super easy. You go to receiving address right here, and then I already have an address there, but you can just say, I want to add an address. So the first thing is the person's name. So whether it's your freight forwarder's name or whatever's name you're putting on here. By the way, all these addresses must be in Chinese, and it must be a Chinese freight forwarder. This platform does not ship overseas. So this would be the person's name. Let's just say whatever. I'm just making this stuff up. This would be the phone number. This would be the district. So again, I'm just going to pick Guangzhou. And this will be the full detailed address, and then you can save it pushing this red button. And that's how easy it is, right? So yeah, you added your address, but now you want to find the product. So let's go back to the home page. So this works almost like Taobao in 168. So you just click on here, and let's say I want wireless headphones. Again, you're going to have to use Google Translate to type it in Chinese. The English interface not so well. And here you can see there's wireless headphones for a good price. If you are price sensitive, you can filter it by price here. Put the cheapest price or the most expensive price. Or if you want to be more specific about the pricing, here you can put a range of the price. So if you want something between 30 to 80 RMB, and then select it. Then you can see there it starts with the 80 RMB, and you can work your way from there. So that's one way to search for a product. Another way is to click on the camera and just get a picture. You can either scan a picture to show it, and here you can see different options. I know I'm showing Pikachu a lot, but you can use pretty much any product you can think of. So I like this one. See, they're actually live streaming now. You can see there's a live stream happening. So if you want to save this product, as I mentioned before, so let's go into the saving the product. You can click on this heart here, and it's saved. So if you go back to the home page, right, you go back to the Me tab, and you go to the heart here. The product is now saved, and then you can select which one you want to buy and continue with the purchase. Now, there's two things you need to pay attention to. One is if you want to see the reviews, this is where you see the reviews. It looks like something like this. You can just look at all of them, and then you can see, people posting pictures. It's all in Chinese. If you want to change it in English, you have to copy and paste their comments and change it to English. So that's the reviews. And if you want to contact the vendor, you just click on this button here, and then you just say hello or have your inquiry, whatever. Now I'm going to go into a concept that might be new to you guys that don't know this platform. So you can see there's two prices down here for the product. The one on the left, if I click here, it's to buy it immediately. Like that's a full price I will buy it for. So then you can just, on the top here, put the address you already have or that you want to add in here. And you can select which one you want and you'll buy it immediately. The second button here is a discounted rate. So you can see it's a cheaper price, but this is like a social buying. So until you meet, let me see if it tells you. Yep. Here it tells you right here the limit is 2, so 2 jian, which is at least 2 people need to buy. As soon as 2 people buy, you can get the price of 15.5 RMB. So when you click here and you look for the product, it will be a little bit discounted, but you won't be able to purchase the goods until someone else agrees to buy the goods. So what does that mean? So I'm going to select this address and these goods. I'm going to click on continue payment. Now it's going to open my payments. I'm going to go to pay. Now here's a key point for you guys that don't have a Chinese bank card. If you don't see your card available here, you can go here and you can see I have a Visa card added. That Visa card is not my Chinese card. That's a foreign card. So if you don't have a foreign card added to your WeChat account yet, you're going to need to do that to make a purchase on Pinduoduo. So you go to add new card. And then you're going to go through the process of adding your full card. Make sure you put the full card number and all the details of the address, the phone number, and everything. Continue. And then your card should be added. But in my case, I'm just going to use a Chinese bank card. And notice I chose the discounted rate, right? So now if I go to my homepage, oh, there's already someone that agreed to buy it. So that's great. So now let's talk about the status of refund. So in my case, someone already agreed to buy it. So I already got a discounted rate because someone was waiting for someone to join in with them to buy it. But in this case, it automatically happened. In most cases, though, it will be here and it would say that we're still waiting for someone to buy it. It hasn't been shipped yet, right? So I'm going to apply for a refund, but this is the same as for other platforms. In China, you have a 7-day grace period for like all these platforms, Taobao, 168, Pinduoduo, right? So as long as you do this within 7 days, you usually get no questions asked. But here's a key point. If it hasn't been shipped yet, it's usually no questions asked. If it's been shipped yet, you're going to need to go through the process of returning it to the supplier and then getting your refund. Or if they completely are fraudulent and send you an empty package, which doesn't happen often, but it can, then they will give you the refund there. But in this case, I want to apply for a refund before it's been shipped. So if I want a refund, just click on here that I want to apply for a refund. Here you put the situation you're in. So the product has not been shipped yet, so I just want a full refund. The reason is I don't want to buy it. And then you can apply for the refund here. Requires a simple explanation, so you can just put, I don't want to buy it. Okay. Then you can apply for a refund. Now, it's pending a refund status. So it's telling you the process of what's happening. Usually the supplier needs to respond. Go to check all my orders. And then here, make sure you check all of them. And here it will tell you the process of where it's at when you click on it. See, the refund was actually given successfully because they haven't shipped it yet. But yeah, so that's how you get a refund if you need it. If it's already been shipped, you would still look for the shipping. You would look for, I want a refund. And it's probably going to say, I want a refund and I need to ship it back. Work with your freight forwarder to ship it back. They'll give you the instructions on what address to send it to, send them the shipping number and all that. You can also get the shipping number here if it's already been shipped and send it to your freight forwarder so they know what's going on. Very little people know about the next version I'm about to show you, the desktop version, because this app is primarily meant for the mobile app version. The desktop version looks like this. It's pifa.pinduoduo.com. You can just use this, right? In order for you to get this interface without being logged in, you need to be logged in with a Chinese IP address. What does that mean? If I turn on my VPN, which I'm going to turn on right now I'm in a US address. If I were to refresh the page while the VPN is on, it's going to ask me to log in. There you go. This is mainly meant for people who have Pinduoduo accounts that are sellers in China. So I'm showing you a loophole right here. Make sure you're connected to a Chinese network. If you run into this screen, that's not going to work out for you. So make sure you turn off your VPN or you turn it on to enter the Chinese network. See the difference? That's not asking me to log in. That's a key point. Now, how do I get a VPN to enter a Chinese network? Well, here's one that offers a free trial. You can contact them, CyberGhost. I'm not affiliated with them. They're not sponsoring this. This is just one. You can just Google VPNs that can enter to China. From my experience, the ones that actually work are not free. You get what you pay for. Think of this as you're paying access for the absolute cheapest pricing that China can offer. You're getting access to Chinese platforms that 90% of the world cannot do unless they know what they're doing. So this is one that I've had some of my subscribers sign up for. You can see it's kind of pretty cheap. If you get the 3-year plan, it's only like $3 a month for access for 3 years into Chinese networks. And it doesn't just apply to Pinduoduo. It can apply to other platforms like the Netflix of China, the Spotify of China, etc. So I just want to make that clear before getting started. So let's talk about the interface. You won't be able to log into this account because you're going to need to be a Chinese seller to log in. But what you can do is you can search for products and add them to your cart. Unlike the mobile version that you have to like push the heart, this one you can actually buy in bulk and add them to your cart. So what do I mean? So you have different search functions. So let's say I want to buy wireless headphones, right? And it's going to search for wireless headphones. Again, you can put the pricing in here. I want it between 30 to 60 RMB. Select. There you go. You can also filter the pricing by lowest to highest or highest to lowest. So as you know previously, you can also select upload a picture and it will use image algorithm to detect the picture and all that. So you can see it's pretty handy to use the wholesale version. But I want this. So the difference here is that I can put a lot of items in bulk into my cart. I can't do that in the mobile app. I can only do it one by one. So if I want a white color, or I guess this is cream color, black color, and a white color. I think this comes with a wireless charger. Look at that. I think it comes with a wireless charger. I want these 3 items. I can add it to my cart. Boom. Add it to the cart right there. So this one is added to the cart. This one's buy immediately. Don't think about buying immediately. So if you scroll down, you can see more of the product details. And you can also see the product reviews here. You might have to copy and paste if you want to see them in English. But a lot of people post pictures. Look at that. So you can see here I selected 3 of the headphones. If you want to look into more details of the headphones, you can look at the product specs, copy them, copy the images and paste them into your e-commerce store, or look at the product reviews. But then I want to purchase it. So I go to my cart, and this is where it gets interesting, right? Here you can see everything in your cart. It's unlike the single B2C version on the app, and this is where it gets cool, okay? So if I want to buy all these 3, right, I can just go to buy, and this is where it gets interesting. You're going to log in to your Pinduoduo account on your phone, right? So I'm logging in, and then I'm going to go to the home page, and I'm going to scan the code. Look at that. Scan the code. It has those products right there on the phone. And I will select to pay with WeChat Pay. I will go continue to pay. And then you just go through the process of, paying for the product. And you can select the address as you saw back there. And you're good to go. So that will save you tons of time. And you can still get pretty decent pricing because you're buying it in bulk. You may not even need to wait for a friend to purchase it for you. Isn't that pretty cool? Once you make the purchase, you can follow the purchase on the mobile application and you're good to go. But that is a loophole to buy wholesale on Pinduoduo instead of buying one by one. It will save you tons of time and it would just make it so much easier for you to buy the product. So that's a cool little trick to teach you. So now you know the 3 platforms, Taobao, 168, and Pinduoduo. The next one is if you don't want to use Alipay, you don't want to deal with the restrictions of WeChat Pay, Alipay, you don't have a passport, but you still want to buy on these platforms. Well, I created a platform just for that so that I can buy the products automatically on the website without you needing an Alipay, without you needing a passport, without you needing WeChat Pay or WeChat. So stay tuned for the next lesson. I created for you guys specifically. So let's talk about what this lesson will cover. First is a small overview about what Borderless Commerce can do, and then I'll go all into the desktop version. By the way, the desktop and the mobile are pretty much identical. If you just open the website on your phone, it should all work as intended as it does with the desktop. So what can my platform do that the other ones cannot? Think of this as something that gives you access to almost all the Chinese platforms and to be able to pay in dollars using your credit card. So the biggest advantage is that whatever the product is on 1688 and Taobao, you can use your foreign credit card without limits, without any of the games, with the passport verification, without Alipay Tour Pass limitations. You can use it non-stop. Currently, I can do any product on Taobao or 1688. And by the time you watch this video, Pinduoduo might already be added on there. There's a little bit of technicalities I need to develop with the software developers, but Pinduoduo should be on there very soon, especially when you're watching this. I also have an experienced network of freight forwarders that can help you ship the goods from the platform anywhere overseas. So I can also deal with that, or you can just ship it to your freight forwarder inside China. That is a-okay. There's nothing wrong with that if you already have a relationship with a freight forwarder. But if not, I can help to ship it to your country. So let's talk about making an account and logging in. So here you have the Borderless Commerce platform. And to make an account, you can just simply register and just follow the process there. But I'm going to log into my account that I already have. So here I am already logged in my dashboard that tells me my orders, downloads, addresses, and all of that. For the addresses, you want to make sure you want to put your address in here. So your billing and shipping address, although it may change, you can leave your billing address, whatever your country's address is, and you can put your shipping address as to your freight forwarder shipping address. Note that the freight forwarder shipping address must be in Chinese for them to work. As you saw with the other three platforms, you can't be typing in English. So make sure when you put the address in here that you put it in Chinese for me, okay? So let's go back to the home page. And now what's interesting about my website is that you can search for products in English, or you can also search by image. Now currently, Taobao 1688 work fine, but Pinduoduo is still under development, but hopefully by the time you watch this, it's okay. And also if you go down here, if you want to go to like some products for electronics or clothing, let's say I want clothes on Taobao, I can click on clothes on Taobao, and it will give me recommendations for clothing on Taobao. You can actually filter it by price. If you want like a $1 to $6 price, you can filter it. There's also brand selection here and category selection. But you can see there's plenty of options here, and these come directly from Taobao. So if I click on a product, right, you can notice how everything is in dollars. These are the prices in dollars, and also everything is in English. So if you click on a product, it will take you to the product page where you can add the product to the cart. So here it will tell you the different colors, the color schemes you can have. So yellow, green. You can choose the sizes, 7, 8-year-old, and how much. And then you can just add it to the cart or buy now. And that's an example with Taobao. So if you go back to the home page here and you want to search for something by a picture, so let's say I choose Taobao 1688, I can choose it by a photo. I'll choose a Pikachu photo again, upload the photo, and then search, and you can see it will give you some responses for the Pikachu option. So whatever photo you put up here, again, it will give you some options just like you're used to using on the platform. So that's something that I thought was really cool. But let's say you have a specific supplier already and you want to search for the product. Well, you can. So here's an example of a 1688 supplier, and I want to purchase these products, but I'm on the 1688 website. So what you can do is copy the link, and on the home page you can click on 1688. On future versions, you won't need to do this filtering. It will do it automatically once you paste the link in. And then you want to click on search. And it should take you to this product page for 1688, but everything will be in English except for the pictures, of course, and descriptions. I can't translate that into English, but if it's anything like handwriting or anything about the description that's written like this should be translated into English. Look at that. You can see that the prices are changed to USD. And you can see the different types you can purchase. So there's a rabbit wine rack holder, another rabbit, like that. And you can see the details in English. Sometimes it won't be changed to English depending on what the code is, because you can't really change the picture into English. And you can add them to your cart. So let's say I want to buy one of these and one of these. You can add them to your cart, and then you'll be able to see them in your cart. So these follow the rules as it does with 1688. If you see there's 2 MOQ right here, which is minimum order quantity, you must at least have 2 products ordered. If not, it won't allow you to add the product to the cart. Here's a product on Taobao. So if I copy this link and I paste it, looks like a trash disposer. See, it takes you exactly to the same product page, just like that. And everything is in dollars. So you can just pay for it here in dollars and then add it to the cart or buy now. So it's pretty simple to use. Again, if you get lost, you can just go to the home page and there's a tutorial, a video tutorial on the home page if you were to get lost. So I'm going to walk through 2 scenarios. One is if you want to ship it to your country, and another one is if you want to use your own forwarder. So I'm going to go to shipping here. And here's where you can get a cost estimate. This is one of the partners I use for shipping, where let's say you want to ship to the United States. And the product weight, you have to put this information in manually. It's probably 3 kilograms. And let's say it's 30 by 20 by 10. Then you can check the freight. And this will be the estimated cost for that product. So here you can see there's different options you can pick. The cheapest one is about $50 and it will get there between 10 to 15 days. Note that the shipping usually is more expensive than the product. So if your product is like $1, expect for the shipping to be more than $1. So here's an overview of how the platform works. You search for the product, add it to your cart. Then you purchase it after you buy it with your own private bank, your Visa credit card. You don't need Alipay, you need WeChat Pay. Then the products get sent to my warehouse if you select my warehouse, or you can just ship it directly to your freight forwarder and I'll just include the tracking number into the order. And then the second time you'd pay would be, I would give you a quotation for the shipping after everything's been measured and weighed properly and packed properly, and I can consolidate the goods into one package and all of that. And these are the 2 times you pay. So let's look at our cart. So if you guys remembered, I put the wine holders on my cart. So I have 2 of these wine holders cart. Note that if there's a coupon code, you can put the coupon code here, but I'm going to proceed to checkout. So here on the left side, you will have your shipping details, right? This is if you want to use my service to ship to your final country. So whatever your shipping details are for your country, your final destination, you can put it in here. Here's an overview of the products. So this flat rate shipping is usually the shipping from the manufacturer to the warehouse in China. So it's domestic shipping, not the overall shipping. And here's the payment method. So you just put your card number, your expiration date, and all that. And you have to agree to the terms and conditions that you can read over here if you have time for that. But if you want to ship it to your freight forwarder directly, you can absolutely do that. Just click right here, ship to my freight forwarder. And make sure to put all the information of your freight forwarder here, but it has to be in Chinese. So you need a Chinese phone number, Chinese address. The address must be in Chinese, like that. Put the whole Chinese. The name would be in Chinese. And then you just put the details. Any notes you want to order, like maybe I want everything consolidated, counted before shipping, whatever it may be. And then you just place the order and check out and you're good to go. So as I continuously develop this platform, this is to give you 100% access to the Chinese market without needing passports or any of that Chinese bank account, Alipay, or WeChat Pay. So I made this for you in the event you were to reach roadblocks and you still want to be able to purchase the cheapest pricing within China. Now for the next lesson, I'm going to go into a little bit detail about customizing your product so that you can make it your own and you have a unique selling point so that you can get a competitive advantage over your competitors if you want to start this e-commerce business. So I'll catch you in the next lesson. So now you know how to use 4 platforms. 1688, Taobao, Pinduoduo, and Borderless Commerce put it all together. But if you want to stand out in this market, you need to know how to customize your products. So that's what I'm going to be teaching you in this lesson. So let's go into the process of what it will take to actually customize your products entirely so you can streamline this. First is that you need to find a supplier that can help you customize, even if you can tweak it just a little bit so that it's not just copy and paste where you have no unique selling point and you're just competing with hundreds of other people trying to sell on Amazon, their own Shopify. You need to find a way to customize your products, and I'll show you how to do that. Then we'll come into the labeling and manuals. Notice that if you're buying in Chinese platforms, most of the time it will be in Chinese. So either you find a supplier that can make it in your current language, in your country, like in English in my case, or you go through the work to actually find the right people that can do that. And don't worry, I will show you the right contacts in this presentation. Then the outer packaging. When you receive a new product, you want the outer packaging to be in your local language. You don't want it to be in Chinese because the customer's going to be like, what the heck? I don't know how to use this thing. How do you open this? So I will show you contact how to do that. And of course, putting it all together so that when you receive the product, it is as good as it can be for it to be sold on Amazon. Because you want to make the customer experience as smooth as possible. You want to make sure the product is as complete as can be before it's shipped to them. So let's talk about product customization. This is the chance to make the product yours. So I'm going to go through 2 simple examples here on how you can do that. One will be for clothing, one will be for tech. But in China, it's pretty easy to customize products. So first, I'm going to go into Google Translate and show you what I mean by custom. So if you're kind of lost on how to customize products inside China, you can just search custom logo shirts or custom logo whatever you want. Headphones, shoes, whatever you're thinking of for your e-commerce idea. You can even look for white label products that you can add your logo onto it. And then you will copy and paste this. So here I found this in advance already on Taobao. And this is a supplier who does custom logos for polo shirts. So if you want to make your own polo shirts with your own logo, of course you're going to need to give them the design of the logo and everything. That's on you, but you can easily find out on Fiverr or if you already have a design idea. And key point when it comes to clothing is you want to make sure you know the sizes of these products. Remember, we are in Chinese market here. People here tend to be a lot skinnier and smaller than you may be used to, like in my case, the US, where there's a lot of overweight people. You have to really take into account the sizing. Of course, you can just confirm with a supplier saying, hey, my target market is USA. What is a medium in the USA? And they can guide you on how to get the right sizing. So make sure you get the right sizing. For example, I'm a 3XL. Although I don't consider myself to be like obese or anything, I am a 3XL. So if you try to buy an M, which I am in the US, and you try an M in China, it won't fit you. So make sure you get the sizing right. So here's an example of a shirt company, but I also went through the due diligence to look for a custom logo wireless headphone company. And this is a company that can put your own logo, whatever that your logo is, onto some headphones. And you can see it's quite easy to use and it looks pretty nice. What I'm trying to say is you want to make it custom as possible. So let me give you another example. If you want to sell like a book series for children, like for education, yeah, you have the physical book and maybe the PDF version of the book. But if you can ask a company, if you can tweak like their software a little bit, where if they scan a code, that someone can read the book to make it interactive, where you can show it to the kid, that's a unique selling point that you'll have over your competitors versus just getting a book, copying and pasting it, where you can actually make it like your own. So you can actually talk to the supplier to tweak it a little bit. Or if you want like an additional feature to be added to the headphones where you want it to be wireless charging or something like that, all with your own brand, it's possible. So that's how you would customize your products. You're searching it on the suppliers that I showed you on 168, Taobao, and all that. But what if I want to customize the labeling? So what if you want to go a step further, and let's say for a t-shirt, you want to customize the branding that goes into it, like the sizing label that goes into it. You want to make it your own. You can just look for like a custom label. So again, you can use Google Translate to look for a custom label. And you can look for a company that has a good label. You can see it's not that expensive. It's like, I don't know, less than 5 cents each label, especially if you buy in bulk. And here's a company that, you can put your own design in, and it will be your label on the back of the t-shirt. Again, making it your own 100% with the different styles that you can do. And you're going to need to go ahead and have the design ready, but they probably have some examples they can give you, or you can just hire a designer to help you come up with the design that you want to go with. And this will also add to your unique selling point. So that's important with the labeling. Now the packaging, and I know this sounds like a lot, but once you get the hang of it a couple times and you find the suppliers that can help you throughout this process, it gets easier. But the package might still be in Chinese, so you need to change it in English and make it like fitting so that it meets your market. So there's 2 ways you can do the packaging. The first way is just to search for it on like Taobao or 168. They can do custom packaging. Here's one I found where they can, customize your products. The issue with this is that they might not have overseas experience, especially if they're doing it in Taobao. They may. You can ask them. Seems like they have some products that have been changed into English, but it seems like most are in Chinese. But the packaging is very important here, right? So you want to make sure the packaging is in English. So I recommend you use a partner that I've worked with. They have free consultation services. They have done this worldwide, and they can guide you in some packaging they've done before. So here you can see like mobile phone packaging. They do the whole package, like the inside and the outside, so it's protected. So if you have any fragile items, they make sure to package it so that the items inside get protected. And they have all kinds of packaging they've done. If you want to contact them, their information is right up here. Here's their WeChat information, as well as their email and their website that I just showed you. They're very friendly people. They have English customer service, and they have really attractive pricing. So this is how you would do the packaging. Sometimes you can get the package design from the supplier in Chinese, like the original file, whether it's Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, and then just translate it into English and then give that to the packaging company. Or the packaging company can help you do it or guide you to a third-party designer that can do it and make it your own. Again, this is what people do not do. They just simply copy and paste the product, and they don't have a unique selling point. So when you do this, you're doing it on your own, and you're making it more yours so that it is more unique so people can't copy it. It takes a lot of work to do this, but once you get it settled, it becomes worth it. And lastly, you need somebody to put it all together. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can do it yourself. For example, I live in China. They can just ship it to my house, and I'll pack it together, do the manual label together, and then ship it to the customer. Or you can find a fulfillment warehouse that can help you put this all together. Think of this as like an Amazon FBA, but there's plenty in China that can help you with the packaging. Like as I mentioned, they can put everything together so that it's yours and it's custom packaging based on your requirements. And they can help you ship it to your final destination if they support shipping to that country, or they can ship it to your freight forwarder in the event you already have a freight forwarder partner that doesn't want to deal with unpacking products, repackaging it, and doing all that manual labor. This company can help you do it. And this is a company called Next Smart Ship. This is also a company I've used. They can help you with your business. They have free consultation services, and they are really fond of working with the startup companies. So you can sign up for an account, and they'll help you store products. And when you get an order on your website, they'll help you ship it after it's been placed. They help you with inspections. They have a really good team and a lot of good value added services, so they can help you receiving, free storage for 30 days, the handling, the shipping, all that can be done on their platform, and they have really good customer service. So you can click on this link right here that you'll be able to have access to on course, and then you can start using their services. But essentially, this is like the central point that all your product materials come in, whether it's the box, the product, and then they will unpack everything that's in Chinese and pack it into everything that's in English or to your target market and ship it overseas. So now I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to test this whole system with a product idea that you have, whether it's you want to create your own clothing brand, Or maybe you want your own wireless headphone brand. Maybe you're into hiking and you want to have your own hiking boot brand. Whatever it is, pick a product and try to go through the customization process that I mentioned. Again, if this is too much for you, you can always consult with Next Smart Ship to help you throughout the whole process. So now you have an idea on how to customize your product to make it your own if you want to sell it in your e-commerce store. Although this is the last lesson of the procurement section, I highly recommend you go into the bonus section that will go into more details on how to upgrade your business, on how to automate it, finding your first customer, and developing your business model so you're successful in the future. I'll catch you in the next section. Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video. Let's talk about doing the math for your business if you want to get started for the dropshipping model or for the Amazon FBA or B2B model. Somebody can argue that knowing the numbers of your business is probably one of the most important aspects to make it successful and improve on it. So what are we going to cover in this lesson? We're going to go through my profit calculator that you can download for free. So be sure to download that profit calculator if you haven't done so already, and I'll walk you through exactly how to use it. Then we'll go through some example scenarios so that you guys can see how to do the math for any product idea you may have for your country. And lastly, it will be your turn. I will give you a challenge to find a product that is suitable for your country and for you to do the math on how much you should list the price. So let's first go through the profit calculator. So here's a profit calculator you should have downloaded. I know it looks complicated and overwhelming with all the numbers, but it's really easy once you get down to it. So let's go through the B2C single order first and think of this as the drop shipping model. Now, if it's highlighted in yellow, that means you need to fill it out. You need to get the information and fill it out. And what's in green is what you get the output as, like what you should list the price as, and your profit margin. So you don't need to touch anything in the green, but everything that's in yellow, you need to fill out yourself. So let's start with a product that costs 50 RMB. All of these are in RMB and the output is in USD. So if you need to change to currency, you can reference the USD and then just change it to your local currency, whatever that is. So let's say the product is 50 yuan and it weighs about 2 kilos. The domestic shipping for this single product, for one single product, from the factory to the shipping warehouse, let's just make it 10 RMB. And then you already have a deal with a partner to get some good international shipping rates, and they decided to charge you, let's go 50 RMB per kg. Now, import taxes on the product. You would have to be familiar with the import laws, but I added this in here in the event that you do have import taxes. Let's say in this case you do. If you don't, just put 0. But if you do this, let's say 10% of the product cost is what is going to be taxed when it gets imported to the country in this case. Warehousing fees, this is if you're going to stage your products before you ship them in a warehouse. And the average fees is usually like $1 or $2 per product, depending on what it is, especially if it's a small package. So I put 13 there. But if you're not using warehousing, you're just sending it straight to the end customer through the freight forwarder, you can put 0 here. But in my case, I'm going to put like the average 13 RMB. You're going to have to figure that out by yourself. Now, this is the important piece. How much money do you want to keep in your pocket? This is the profit margin. You can get really greedy or you can get really comfortable. I recommend at least between a 30 to 40% because you have to account for any oopsies. Oopsies isn't like something bad could happen at customs where you need to cover some of the costs. In this case, it's just make it a healthy 40%. Now, how does this work? So your product costs 50 RMB and the total shipping costs about 100 RMB. Here, what you get outputted is the minimal final listing price. This is the listing price you should put on your e-commerce store or sell it to your customer. And then it tells you how much profit you'll get per order. So if one person places an order for this product that costs 50 yuan, you should be able to pocket $16
in this business. Now, this is for the drop shipping model, like B2C, straight to the customer. But what if you want to ship the products to an Amazon FBA or to your own house and then ship them from your house so that the customer can receive the product very quickly? Well, let's go into the bulk order. So because you're ordering in bulk, you can usually get the product price very cheap. So in this case, let's make the product price 40 RMB. And you want to start with buying 20 products of this 40 RMB. Let's make each product 1 kilo, and domestic shipping per product would be, let's just keep it 5 RMB because it's not that much. And then you're able to get good sea freight cost for about 30 RMB per kilogram, which is a lot cheaper, usually a lot cheaper than the 50 RMB per kilogram because you're doing the B2B model. Now, if you're doing warehousing, which you most likely will, unless you do it yourself in your house, like you ship it straight to your house, you can assume there'll be like 15 to 20 RMB per package. Let's just make this 15. And then import taxes, you're definitely going to have to pay some taxes. Let's just make it a clean 10. The taxes do depend on the type of item and the amount that the item costs. So the cheaper the item is, less taxes you'll pay for it. So just be aware of that. But you can also consult with Next Smart Ship or warehousing your freight forwarder for this. I already mentioned the warehousing fees per product, just make it 13. So per product warehouse to customer shipping cost, what does this mean? It's the cost it will take to ship the product from the warehouse to the end customer. So for example, if you have an Amazon FBA in the US and you send this product to the warehouse in the Amazon FBA, how much will it cost for the product to get from the warehouse to the customer's doorstep? So let's just make this an even 20 RMB. You're going to have to consult with your local warehouse or the shipping couriers you use in your country to be able to get the exact pricing. The import taxes, just make it a clean 10%, but it does depend on the type of product and how much the product costs. The warehousing fee is about 13. And the profit margin, now because you're doing B2B, you can be more generous in the profit margin. So here you have 40% profit margin for B2C. But you can actually make a good amount of profit margin. Let's say you want 100% profit margin, like double the price in your pocket. You would have to put the minimal final pricing between at least $30. And after you sell 10 units, you break even. So the risk with B2B is that you buy everything at first up front, but after you sell certain amounts, like after you sell 10 units, all the units after that will be pure profit. Now let me show you like how you can be more greedy with the profit margin in the B2B model versus B2C model. So in the B2C model, I choose 50 RMB. Let's choose 50 RMB. Let's do the exact same product. 50 RMB per product. But actually, because you're buying in bulk, they agree to do 40 RMB. You're going to buy 50 of these products, and the product weight is the same, 2 kilos. And let's say you just wanted the same profit margin, 40. To have the same profit margin as doing the dropshipping model, you would have to list it for $28 versus $40, which is a lot cheaper for the customer. But you won't make profit until you sell at least 35. But if you wanted to match this price, like $40, then you can just play with it until you reach the $40 mark right there. To get 100% profit margin, you just need to sell 25 units to break even. And after that, the rest of the money you make will be in your pocket. So I hope you understand how the profit calculator works. But now let's put this into practice with some examples on how you can use a profit calculator for your business. So the first example is that I'm going to be shipping to France with a B2C product on Taobao. So let me go on Taobao. And let me search. You might have to use Google Translate for this, but I'm going to search for wireless headphones. The reason I chose headphones is that because they usually don't cost much and they don't weigh much. Let's pick this one. Okay, it's 99 RMB for the product. It has Bluetooth 5.0. And you're going to have to contact the supplier directly to see if they have an English version, which you learn how to do that in the procurement process. But they might have an English version they can sell where everything is in English and for your country. So we're going to do this one. We're going to do 99 RMB and let us calculate the cost of the shipping because we're going to France. So remember, just a refresher, look for China. Product is probably 0.5 kilograms. So we'll just make it 1 kilo. And it's a very small package, like maybe 10 by 10. by 10 centimeters. Calculate it. So it's about 20 RMB. So right now, doing the B2C model, so it's 99 RMB. It's going to be 0.5 kilos. 20 RMB to ship it in China. Remember that 20 RMB inside China, but now I want it to go to France. Right there, France. The exact same product. Translate to English. I think this has a battery, so you might have to use the battery option. This one won't work. Can't see batteries here. No batteries. Okay, so FedEx will work. The battery line will also work, which is about 317 RMB, which can be quite expensive. So you want to consult with this company, of course, for the shipping to be absolutely sure, but this is just to get an estimate. See, I can get complicated with batteries. So let's just make the cost 300 RMB per kilogram, as we saw in that example. But because it's half a kilogram, you only have to pay 150 RMB for the shipping. 0 on the import taxes because it doesn't cost that much. I'm not going to do warehousing. I'm going to ship it straight after I, of course, negotiate with the supplier to send it all in English. I want a 40% profit margin. And you see, I'll have to list it for $60, which isn't bad if it's a good quality headset. Like you may think like, oh, that's a lot of money. But if you post this on Amazon or you make your own drop shipping store for $60 is totally very affordable, especially if it's like Bluetooth 5.2. It's always good to see the reviews to see like what the customers say about it and if it's compatible with Apple and Android. That's a reasonable way to get started, okay? If I want to ship it to France, I just search the product, get the product cost, domestic transportation cost, international transportation cost to France, 40% profit margin. I just got to list it for 60 and I'll get $24 profit per order, which isn't bad, right? Let's go into the second example of B2B USA using 1688. So I go to 1688, search for wireless headphones. These look pretty cool. I'm going to start off with 50. This one has a 10 MOQ, but I'm going to start off with 50. It's 59 RMB each. This one, 59 RMB each. I'm going to buy 50. In cost, you may have to calculate with your freight forwarder directly. But if you remember, the domestic shipping cost would be 0.5 kilos, around 20. But I think it's going to be a lot less than that, to be honest. And the international shipping costs, you're going to have to get with your freight forwarder for this one because I'll be using the boat model and they'll give you a custom quote for this product. Whereas you can probably get it for 30, if not 40 RMB per kilogram. It takes, let's say, in this case, I'm going to put 60 RMB, which is about $10 or so, for the product to get from the warehouse to the end customer in the USA or the Amazon FBA warehouse. Taxes, let's just make it 15. Warehousing, same price. And profit margin, let's get greedy. I want 100%. So now with this example, I'm buying 50 products and each product costs 59 RMB. Now realize this 20 RMB for domestic is just a placeholder. It could be a lot cheaper once you actually coordinate with the supplier. It might actually be free if you coordinate with the supplier and buy 59, so you can save there. But if you want 100% profit margin, you need to be able to sell 24 units at 40 USD each, which is a lot more attractive than 60 USD, and it may be about the same quality headphones for that product. So you can see right there, that's an example of B2B using wireless headphones going to the USA using 1688. Now let's go into the last one, Pinduoduo, B2C to Australia. Okay, so it's 79 RMB. It weighs about the same, and it's 10 RMB. It's me communicating with the supplier. It's 10 RMB to ship it domestically, but that might be 0 in some cases. So let's see how much it will cost to send it direct to Australia. So right now I have France selected, but I want Australia. Where you at? You go Australia. I click on calculate, translate to English. Okay, so FedEx about 350, SF International. SF International looks a lot better. It doesn't say batteries is not prohibited. So let's go with SF International one, 160 RMB. Would cost 160 per kilo to send to Australia. And let's say I get a little bit more greedy with this one and I want 60% profit margin. I will incur 10% import tax and I won't have any warehousing fees, so I'll be sending it straight to the customer. I would need to sell it for $45 to get $27 profit per order, which is pretty nice. So now that we've gone through some examples, it is your turn. Find a product that is suitable for your country, figure out the shipping costs, talk to the supplier directly to see if there are any domestic shipping costs, and use a calculator for the international shipping costs for B2C, or for B2B, talk to your freight forwarder that you've already interviewed about a product that you want to ship overseas, and see if it's suitable with the current market requirements. Like, do research for a similar product being sold in your market and see what their price point is so that you're not like overshooting the price too much, but you're still making a good profit at the end. Stay tuned for more content about how you can improve your e-commerce business with this bonus content. Let's walk through getting your first customer when it comes to starting up your e-commerce business. So this framework is based on my experience from when I started building my e-commerce business from scratch. I will show you some methods that I have tested and used myself. So it's not like this is theory, this is something that I have actually tried when it came to starting an e-commerce business. So firstly, I would recommend narrowing down your products. There are millions of products out there in China, so it's best to figure out which one is most suitable for your market. Like, what are your interests? Something that you're interested in anyways. What is something that you follow, that you need, that you buy frequently, and that you can improve or make your own customized product and sell it to your circle of friends or family. Narrow it down as much as possible, and I'll give you an example just a little bit. Then, of course, you need to do the math. If you don't remember in the last couple of lessons, I showed you how to do the math for B2C and B2B models. So make sure you know how much the cost will be to procure, ship, and get the product to the end customer. With those costs, then you can know how much you will charge. And having that reference number, you can ask your circle of friends or your family, is this a reasonable price? Would you pay for it? Just to kind of get a test for it. Now, to level it up, after you try with your circle of friends and family, there are methods to get more sales, which I'll go into in a little bit. And the last piece is getting your first sale. So after you found the product in a niche that interests you and your circle of friends, after you've done the math and found a good price point after doing market research on the product and the price and where it is in your country, I recommend you do everything that you can to get your first sale. You can use your circle of friends or your family members to recommend them this product, and then you can go ahead and do it. You don't have to have an e-commerce store set up. You can do it just simply PayPal or Zelle or whatever. You just need to get into the flow. Let's talk about niching down. And how can you niche down? Think about some things that are your hobby and interests. What would you buy anyways before starting this business that you frequently need or you're a fan of? Something that you needed that helped to solve a problem in your niche. In my example, I started with anime figures. I like watching anime. I watch all kinds of anime. And I realized in China they produce really good quality figurines. So I started involving myself into Reddit and Facebook groups and some forums that dealt with these kinds of figurines. And I wanted to see what the market is asking for and how much they would accept as a price point. You can also consider using a third-party company. Let's say you want to buy a white label product. You can consider using a third-party company to slap your logo on it or put a sticker on it to make it 100% your own based on what it is, whether it's wireless headphones or some cool idea that you thought of that is actually pretty cheap to produce in China. After you niche down, you of course need to do the math.
As you have the profit calculator tool, you can control the profit margin and see how much it will cost you, at least the bare cost, to get the product to the end customer. Realize you need to account for taxes and you need to have some buffer for your profit margin. Do some market research to see on Amazon or other e-commerce platforms how much a product is being sold for so that you know you are selling for a reasonable price. I'm not saying you need to sell it for the cheapest price, but you need to be somewhat fair if someone were to look up the product somewhere else. Now, this is the most fun piece in my opinion. Getting your first sale. You can start with your family and friends. Why do I recommend this? Because they trust you. They're not some stranger on the internet you never met that you might have done through marketing or something like that. And they will be more forgiving of your mistakes. The reason I say you should get the sale from them first is that they won't fight with the bank or try and get chargebacks or try to make your life difficult. You can keep them updated about the whole process. Don't worry about setting up the website or anything like that just yet. This is your first sale. If the first sale is successful, then you can use that money to sell to another friend and another friend until you have the money to set up a website, which I will go into a little bit more detail in another lesson. If I were you, I would get a list of 5 people that would at least buy your product and then go with it from there. 5 people is more than doable within your niche. If you chose like the anime figure like I did, it is more than possible. Make sure you ask them, would you buy this product? And the more repetitions you have on getting the product from China all the way to the customer is very good because you can deal with returns, you can deal with any issues with the quality, with insurance if you were to run into them. Because I promise you, once you scale and get strangers start buying from your platform, whether you're using marketing tactics or something like that, they will not be so forgiving and they will write negative reviews and make you look bad. So let me show you an example of what I mean by niching down. This is a product I found. I personally like Dragon Ball. Use a Goku Super Saiyan 3. It's a pretty nice product, pretty nice statue. Just make sure, of course, you always get a sample first to be able to make sure that it's a good quality. But they offer different sizes. You have the smaller size and the larger size at a pretty good price point. They offer different kind of designs for the dragon in the background and different sizes. You can see they have a regular dragon, then this is the gold-plated dragon, and then this one is the one with the light up. And this is where you start with your niche. So in this case, I would use this product. I will research the product cost in my home country and also calculate the total cost of shipping, which you'll need to get the dimensions and the packing weight from the supplier to be able to get the exact pricing when it comes to shipping. So now you know what it takes to just get started and just get your first customer. That's all you need. Just need your first customer to start getting comfortable with the process. Later on, I'll be showing you on how you can upgrade your services to get a full website running and how to automate your business. Get started and find your niche right now. Quick pause before we continue. If you understand the sourcing process but don't want to deal with language barriers, local payment systems, or even navigating Chinese platforms on your own, there is a simpler option. Borderless Commerce lets you source directly from China's major platforms like 1688, Taobao, and Pinduoduo using standard international payment methods. No Alipay, no WeChat Pay, and no local setup required. It's free to sign up and designed for founders who want a faster, low-friction way to move from idea to supplier. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit borderlesscommerce.net. Now let's get back to the video. Let's talk about some automation strategies that you can use for your business as you already gotten your first couple of customers and you have some money just to get started. So if you want something to be mostly automated, it won't be free. You're going to need to invest some money into that. So I only recommend this after you have gotten your first couple of customers and you have built some capital already. I recommend at least $500. The first thing you need to do is make an e-commerce website. This is pretty much your home for your business. You need to have an online home for your customers to go to if you want to lead them somewhere for your e-commerce idea. Then you need to settle on what kind of payment processor you want to get. I will go through like a couple that you can use, but you need to figure out what's best suitable for your market. For example, you shouldn't be using a payment processor that will only work inside mainland China, but your market is in the USA. It's kind of useless. So you want to be smart with that. After that, you want to develop partnerships or figure out any partners that can give you APIs for shipping. so that everything can be automated when someone places an order instead of you having to manually place the order. And lastly, you always need to continue to improve on your business. Don't get complacent. Analyze and see the data on how your e-commerce store is doing to go on to the next step. Let's talk about setting up your e-commerce store. It's not too difficult, but it does take some investment if you have zero coding experience and no background in making and developing websites. So I have put the estimated cost on how much it will be more or less based on platforms like GoDaddy, HostGator, and there's tons out there. You don't have to use those two. There's tons out there. But for example, you have the domain cost, which can be $20 to $50 a year, and it depends on the name. If your name is very requested and you have like the .com versus the .net, it's going to cost a lot more. The hosting, which is pretty much the server on where your website is hosted, is going to be between $70 to $100 a year. The SSL, this is pretty much a certificate where your customer can actually process credit cards on your website. Without it, customers won't put their credit card information on their website. No way. Payment processors, the two that I'm going to recommend you are free to use, but they charge you a fee for every transaction that you make. The development fee for the website can be between $150 to $250. It depends on the complexity of your products and how complex you want your website to be. So as I would recommend, as I mentioned earlier, at least $500. I use GoDaddy for my hosting services, but you can use another one that you may have in your country. It's a lot cheaper. But let's go through how to find a developer for your business. So here I just put in WooCommerce e-commerce store. Now you just search through the filters on Fiverr and you can easily find someone to set it up. Do realize that I recommend WooCommerce because it's a WordPress website and there are no hidden fees that you may encounter with like Shopify, where it has monthly fees for the keeping your e-commerce or dropshipping store up and running. So that's why I prefer WooCommerce, but you can use Shopify if that's what you prefer. So you see there's different options here that you can choose from with different price points. And you just got to pick one that's suitable for you. So let's say this one has WooCommerce, AliExpress store, 4.9 rating. You can also filter it by the price if you need it to be within a certain range. And the seller details, like if they're top rated, if they speak a certain language. But usually their standard packages is what I would go by. See, this one's kind of expensive. It's about $250. It has 5 pages, can do it within 4 delivery days, and they can offer you SEO, WooCommerce, and all that. Make sure you specify that the website must be integrated with your payment processor, which I'll go into a little bit. Because if you just have a website, but you don't have a link to your payment processor, it's kind of useless. So be aware of that when you search for these. And you can chat with many Fiverr leads, and if you find one that is suitable for you, go ahead and continue. So once you find a developer, then you have a website. Now you gotta talk about the payment processor. I personally use Stripe, but there are others like PayPal or anything like that. You need to research which ones your customers are more comfortable using, because it depends on what country you are in. For example, in China, it is beneficial to have a payment processor of Alipay, since everybody uses Alipay here. So make sure you pick one that's suitable for you. In my case, most of my customers are from the US, so I use Stripe. And they can just use their Visa or MasterCard to make the payments. PayPal will work just fine. Let's talk about the startup situation of where you would get started with the bare cost. I use Stripe, so in this example, I'm going to talk about Stripe. And my WooCommerce store is already set up because I use a developer. So this is after the website's set up and you have a payment processor. You link it there with your product of choice that you've chosen based on your niche, as I've gone through a couple examples. And then the money gets settled into your bank account, usually 2 or 3 days after the purchase. It usually gets settled in your bank account. Now, because you're just getting started, you probably don't have convenient methods to pay the supplier directly. So you can use platforms like the TourPass to pay the supplier on 1688. Once you know the customer has made the purchase, you can go ahead and make the purchase on 1688. It's usually safe and the money usually gets into your account pretty quickly. So use a platform like TourPass to be able to pay your suppliers directly and then start the process for shipping that product or fulfilling that order. And this is the basic. It's not 100% automated, but at least it's bare bones to get started and to get the ball rolling. But if you want to level up your business, I use this method right now on my e-commerce website. This is the ideal situation. You still have the Stripe and the e-commerce store, but the difference is you use a gateway, like a
I guess you can call it a middleman or a platform, like Payoneer and Wise, and they would host your money completely, all from the e-commerce website. But check this out. On Payoneer, after you have an established business or you register for a Payoneer account and you link it to your Stripe account, but the beauty about Payoneer and Wise is that you can pay the supplier directly the exact fees that you need for the product. So let's say I charge $100 for a product, but the product only costs $30. So I would get $30 and send it to my supplier directly in their local currency because Payoneer can do that. And that will get the process started there. And the beauty is that whatever is left over, aka the profit, will go into my bank account that I will put from the Payoneer. So I really like this because it can help you separate the expenses, pay your suppliers, pay the shipping company first, and then you keep the profits afterwards. So this is almost 100% automated, and it is just very easy and nice to use. So now let's talk about shipping and how to level that up. You know how to find a freight forwarder. You probably have a short list already on the ideal freight forwarder, but you want to ask them, do they have API to link onto your website? And what is API, you might ask? It is simply a tool that you can link to their shipping system or their order management system that can automate your business. So instead of manually putting in the shipping price of each product, you can connect to the API, and the API will tell you exactly the cost of each product on your website. And in addition, if you link to their order management system, every order that's placed on your website would be placed on their website. So essentially, you don't have to do anything at this point. But let's go into a little bit more detail. So how will this process work to automate it completely with an order management system or shipping API? You gotta know your product you're selling in your market. It is important to know the dimensions, the weights, and the kind of product it is so that you know exactly what to tell the shipping company or the freight forwarder, and you have it set. If you have the integration complete, and you can also hire a Fiverr person to help you integrate, when a customer places an order on your website, if you integrate with your freight forwarder's order management system, that order will be placed with your freight forwarder, and then they can start the process to receive the goods. I personally use a service called Next Smart Ship that can help you automate this completely with your e-commerce store. So when the order is placed on your website, it is then communicated to Next Smart Ship's platform, and they will send you updates of where the product's at, if it's at the warehouse, if it's being shipped, and essentially you don't have to touch the product at all. After the order has been placed on the order management system, in this case would be Next Smart Ship, which I have details about all their fees and services in the documents section of this course, then you just need to pay the bills and get updates. Depending on the level of your business, you can pay after or pay before. Usually after you get a certain number of orders, they trust your business, they will just process your orders and bill you at the end of the month, and you just pay them the bill at the end of the month, and everybody's happy, good to go, and you never have to touch the product or worry about the process. But this is an advanced tactic where you connect to their management system that can give updates to your customer on exactly where the product is at and when the order is complete. They also help you deal with returns and shelving. In the event that a customer is not happy with the product, you can return it and keep it in their warehouse and sell it later. Now, I recommend getting into this after you have made your first sale, you built your website, you have a payment processor, and you've gotten a few manual orders in to know the process, to then level it up to this level where you can use warehousing services. The last section is analyzing and improving your business. You cannot get complacent with the e-commerce business. It is an ever-changing market, and the customer feedback is very important. So make sure you don't limit yourself on making a decent amount of money. So let's talk about things to consider as you level up your business. The first one is a business banking account. You should consider, if you are currently doing this with a personal bank account, to level up and register a business in your country. It will be more official, and you will be protected from any liabilities or problems that may happen with the business if it were to go bankrupt or you would have a dispute with a customer. They won't go after your personal assets. Then you want to think about product development. Once you've sold one product that works well, or maybe a couple, maybe start expanding your product line and even looking at other suppliers to customize a product that is something that is needed in your market. Or you can even invent something from scratch. You can work with a supplier directly and say, hey, I'm thinking about making something that has these features. Can you produce it? And if they agree and they can produce it, then you guys can work together and continue with the product development. Next is marketing. You can only get your words out so much through forums and your family and friends. So consider investing in tactics to increase your marketing, whether it's Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Google ads. Look into different avenues and commercials on how to promote your product wherever your target market is. And lastly, you definitely want to continue building your partners. You never know when you find a more suitable partner that can either save on your profit margins or give you better customer service. You can hire a virtual assistant that can work as your customer service representative and add a chat function on your website where they can have absolute communication with your customers at all times, which will make them feel more comfortable. So these are things you want to analyze and think about to level up your business as you get things rolling with your automated website. I hope you are able to take some tips on how to automate your website, and you can start applying for payment processors and finding a developer to make your website for you. So once you have everything set up, you may want to know how you can avoid scams with some of these suppliers, and that will be the next lesson of this course on how to avoid scams and make sure you can filter out the suppliers correctly so that you are not a victim of being scammed. I'll meet you in the next lesson. When you're running any e-commerce store or kind of any business, you may run into the risk of scams, and it's good to know what scams are out there and how to avoid them, how to check for them in advance so that you don't get caught up in a mess. What I've done is that I've broken down a lot of common scams that you may experience with suppliers in China. So I've kind of narrowed it down to 4 common red flags of what you can expect the supplier to try to do with you, especially if they know you're shipping overseas. Because some people may try and take advantage of you if you're trying to ship overseas. Well, the first red flag is if they directly ask you to pay them directly. There are platforms like WeChat and Alipay, as you know, that don't offer chargeback services, or if you send the money, it's gone forever. So just be careful with that. Another one is if they want you to pay outside of the platform. So let's say they want you to pay outside of 168, Taobao, or Pinduoduo, and they have their own website that's not really regulated and doesn't really protect the consumer or the buyer. Just be aware of that. Another one is no company proof. It's kind of similar to the second red flag if they tell you to go to a different website that might look like Taobao or 168, but it really isn't, and they can't provide you company registration information that you can't look up. I'll be teaching you how to look up if the company is legit or not, but if they don't have any company proof or registration, a lot of the platforms don't allow individuals today to be able to sell goods without having a registered business. There are exceptions, like if you're selling on secondhand platforms, which is like the eBay of China, like the Xianyu and the Zhuangzhuang, but other than that, you most likely need a business license. And lastly, this is one to be very careful about. And it's very crucial to have some kind of inspection in China before you ship the goods. And this is fake shipping labels. Yes, it does happen where you can create a fake shipping label and then they can say that the product has been shipped. So let me give you some scenarios on how some suppliers may want to pay outside the platform or ask you for different payment methods. They'll be pushing you very hard to say things like, if you buy in bulk, we'll give you a special one-time offer that you can only accept, but you must pay us directly through WeChat and Alipay. Problem with this is that if you send them the money directly with WeChat or Alipay, you can't get the money back. If it's a very large amount, you may be able to report it to the Chinese police here, but if you're not living in China, it's very difficult to get your money back, especially if they never catch the person. Well, unless you actually have to trust a supplier that you've been working with for a long time and have many orders through, I highly don't recommend doing this. You can save a lot of money if they're actually legitimate and you've been doing business with them and you pay them directly on Alipay or WeChat. But for the most part, especially if you're just starting out, be careful. Next is not using sourcing platforms directly. I can share you a story that happened to one of my subscribers. We're making purchases on Taobao, and then all of a sudden the supplier gave him a refund and say, hey, the order didn't go well. Would you mind placing another order? Here's the link for the order. The link looked like a Taobao link, but it wasn't. If you look at it very carefully, it was like a fake Taobao account or something. And the problem of using a platform outside of the official ones that are recognized in China is that there's not so much consumer protection or buyer protection. So if the consumer spends money, there's no checks and balances to make sure that you get the goods that you pay for. On 168 and Taobao, actually, when you pay the supplier on the platform, if you don't accept the goods, or if within 7 days that they say they ship the goods, the money will stay on the platform side. They won't actually give it to the supplier until the goods have been confirmed. So it protects everybody. So in the event there's a dispute between the first 7 days of shipping the goods, you always have a chance to get the money back because a third party has the money. 168, Taobao, Pinduoduo, not the individual itself. So if there's no checks and balances, be very careful. Another thing to be concerned about is if the company can't produce any history of their business, especially the business license. So if they just opened up a Taobao store or 168 store and they have no orders, no customer reviews, nothing like that, then that's pretty risky business. Especially if they say they've been established for years, but in reality, when you ask them for the business license, it doesn't show that. So let's show an example. So there's a website called Tianyancha, and you can simply go to the website. It looks like this. You can also use Google Translate if you want to, but in this case, they need to give you the company number. So I have a company number saved here, and this is standard. Every company knows exactly what this is. This is the business license. So you can search by the number, and then it will give you the search results for that number down here. So if it's green, that means it's still in operation, and it tells you when the company was established. So if the company was established in like last week or last month, that's a red flag to be aware of, especially if they say they have been producing so many goods for so many years. So just be very careful. It also tells you the address of the place, the email, and the phone number. This is important because if the scammer tells you they're based in Guangzhou, but you see that the company registration is in Shenzhen, that is a red flag. Especially if the address they give you does not match the address here, it is a red flag. Be very careful. You're more than welcome to use the Google Chrome translate to English function if you need so, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Just paste the company license number here and then click on the blue button. The last red flag I would like to warn you about is fake shipping labels. That's why I recommend services like Quaizer or NextSmart Ship that you learned earlier in the modules, where there's a third party that can look at your goods, open the package, and make sure it's authentic. I've had a customer actually use their service and it saved them thousands of dollars. They made the mistake on paying them directly on PayPal through Friends and Services, which is a no-no for a first-time supplier because they heard they were good online. But at the end, they sent them an empty bag. It can happen. If the supplier knows you're shipping overseas, they can just send you an empty bag with a shipping label, and when you open it, if you don't open it inside of China and just send it directly with a courier or something, it is a red flag. Or they can put like a fake item. Like let's say you paid for a blue bag, but they gave you like a very, very small red wallet, like something very different. If you don't catch it in China, it is very dangerous and you won't be able to fight the refund once it reaches your country. So that's why it's super recommended you get a third party, as I mentioned in this course, to be able to inspect those goods before you ship them overseas. Well, now I hope that you're more equipped with what kind of scams and what kind of signs to look for when you are doing this e-commerce business, especially when you're just starting out. So be aware, and I hope that you use these services to help you with your business.
If you made it this far, you now have a clear understanding of how sourcing from China actually works and what to avoid. At this point, the biggest difference between success and staying stuck is taking action. The next step is applying what you've learned to a real product idea by validating the demand, narrowing down your focus, and moving towards execution. I've created a follow-up video that walks you through exactly how to get started. You'll find a link in the description or on the screen. Thanks for sticking to this video, and now it's your turn to take action.